Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
To fish against the best, you have to beat the rest, and that is what these top 10 anglers have done this week at the St. Croix Bassmaster Open here at the upper Chesapeake Bay, Cecil County, Maryland. The top 10 have made it. Over 180, almost 200 boats this week, and these are the top 10 fishing on Championship Saturday. A lot of these anglers are trying to beat the rest so they can make it to the Bassmaster Classic or the Bassmaster Elite Series. We are in the state of Maryland this week, like we mentioned, the upper Chesapeake Bay. Not many people know about this gem of a tidal body of water just north of Baltimore. Baltimore is along the Chesapeake Bay, and we are in northeast Maryland in Cecil County this week at the takeoff right there. And just a few minutes ago, about 30 minutes ago or so, the anglers left the dock to get their final day started. We see anglers idling out. This is the culmination of a 3-tournament Northern Opens division. The rules of the game this week, like we mentioned, 150, 160 plus boats fishing the Opens this week. The top 10 competing on the final day. We've made that cut down. The top 40 receive checks. And at the end of today, the heaviest 3-day weight takes the title. There's a classic berth up for grabs, $42,000 to the winner of this event. Also, points for the Elite Series as well. Those are finalized, and we will get into that in just a little bit, but there's some sights from takeoff. And as we take a look at our unofficial leaderboard, Chris Boudry still on top of our leaderboard as he was the day two leader after having 2 fantastic days, 17 plus pounds and 16 plus pounds, had a 7-pound lead coming into the final day of competition, as we see some other anglers moving up and trying to gain extra dollars, getting points as well. And we will see how it all lines out for these anglers today. We'll be with you for 3 hours on Fox Sports 1 today, showing you all about the upper Chesapeake Bay. And as we bring it into the Bassmaster Studio, sponsored by Marathon, I'm Ronnie Moore, joined by Bassmaster Elite Series champion and pro John Cruz, as well as Mike Sucon. And John Cruz, what a great body of water this is, but what a challenging time of the year it can be. The fall is often a time where fish are on the move and there's uncertainty, and that's what we're seeing play out this week. Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. I tell you that this week is going to be interesting for me to watch on this side of everything. I'm used to being out there and competing, but now we're on a little different story. We're going to be able to commentate and talk about it. It's a fishery that I've fished a few times. I know it pretty well, but I've fished tidal fisheries growing up my whole life. The 2 Bassmaster tournaments that I've won have both been on tidal fisheries. I really like tidal fisheries, but yeah, you mentioned it. You hit the nail on the head. This is a tougher time of year. There are a lot of fish in this place, so anybody in that top 10 could crack a big bag if they just happen to hit on the right spots. So it'll be fun to watch. We have seen it be do or die this week, Mike Sucon. A lot of anglers struggling to get a limit each day, which is 5 fish in their live well. But also we've seen guys get consistent big bags like our leader. There is still a chance he could bring in 1 or 2 today and slip and allow someone to possibly slide up there.
I thought we'd know very early if Chris Boudry was on his honey hole and be able to catch his fish, because he was, bagging up 15 pounds very quickly in the morning. See if his spot is going to refire today. One thing that we'll keep an eye on is everyone from 2nd to 10th place today as they try to jump up and put pressure on Chris Boudry. And one of those anglers who snuck into the top 10 in 9th place, JT Tompkins. You can see that northeast area on the map. It is occupying about half of our top 10. It's going to be an area that we get to talk about with Such and John about why this region has so many good quality fish in it. But we saw JT Tompkins this morning get off to a good start. He's got the best grouping of fish and a 5-fish limit in his tally right now. So we will see some of those catches from this morning. But JT Tompkins, a 20-year-old angler with such good success already in his first 2 years on the Elite Series.
I think it's the earliest I've had a limit. So pretty happy about that. Yeah, I started out here today just casting around some isolated structure. Every day it's been pretty tough. I've been throwing a Senko around, but this morning I decided to pick up a jig from Outcast Tackle and kind of put some few in the boat this morning. Pretty happy about it. But we got we got 2 little rats, like 12 inchers, and we got 3 pretty big ones. So if we get rid of those 2, we had ourselves a good day. But honestly, just got to have a limit. This tournament's been real tough. So pretty happy with the limit already. But we're going to keep moving around. I still got, this is just my starting area, and really my bigger fish have come off other stuff. So here in about an hour, we're going to give this a little bit longer and then see if we can catch one more. Then we're going to put a moving bait in our hand, and we're going to go bounce around and try to hit some stuff and try to put 2 or 3 in the boat. And we might spend the rest of the day we probably aren't going to drive a mile. Just bounce around on some little stretches with moving baits and a jig and see if we can put 20 pounds in the boat and scare some people.
JT Tompkins there with a breakdown of his morning. We got to see a couple good fish from him this morning. 13.5 pounds right now on Bass Track, John, and that is huge for him because the first 2 days he's been consistent, but 11 pounds each day. But like he said, there is 20 pounds here. The quality definitely shows up. And we mentioned tidal fishing. Explain to the folks what tidal fishing means, because if they live on the United States not connected to the ocean, whether it's the Gulf, the Pacific, or the Atlantic Ocean, they might not know what a tidal body of water is because their lake stays the same all day long. But what is the tidal fishery?
Yeah, the upper Chesapeake Bay is a classic tidal fishery. The tides, you have 4 tides a day. You have 2 high tides and 2 low tides. Every 6 hours, that's going to change. So every 6 hours, the water is going to be coming in, and then the next 6 hours, the water is going to be going out. And it's all because of the gravitational pull of the moon. It's kind of a fascinating phenomenon, actually. You know, so as we're on a full moon right now, as you get full moon, the moon is closer to the Earth. You get a little harder tidal flow. It's just kind of a fun little side note on a lot of this stuff, and I think that's what you're seeing with these guys having this high tide this week. A lot of it is induced from that full moons, keeping that water in the bay a little bit longer, and these guys get to get a little more water over top of the fish they're fishing for.
The best way I explain tidal fishing to people who've never fished a body of water like that or seen a tournament is go sit your chair on the beach, on the sand, in the same spot all day long. There will be times where the ocean is far from you, and there's a time where it's flooded your chair, and that's the best way.
Catching some fish. I have 3 in the box already for about 5.5, so they're small. They're not the right ones, but considering I only weighed 3 on the first day, you know, I thought I was a co-angler or something, just stopped at 3. But it's good. It's good. I just don't think it's right yet. The bite should get better. There's fish being caught around me, so I know I'm in a good area. Been sharing some water with some great anglers. And hopefully we can just get a couple of those bigger bites throughout the day. I think I'm going to have to mix in some, you know, being one of the few local sticks left in the Derby. Hopefully if the tide gets right, we can mix in some grass fish too. So just fishing some hard targets and cycling through some key stuff.
Duke Nave, one of the local anglers. He's from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania region, and if you're from Philly or Maryland or even lower New York, you kind of are familiar with all of these tidal fisheries because they are definite tournament hotspots in this northeast region.
Speaking of locals, there's Pete Glusik. He's another local. He guides on this fishery. He also guides on the Delaware River, which is connected through the canal to this fishery. It's kind of fascinating that the tidal flow here is only about a foot and a half at most. Over on the Delaware River, it's 3 feet of tidal swing. So it's just kind of fascinating that they're connected, but the tide is so much different just because of the way that they lay out. But I expected Pete to do well. He's in the top 10. I would not be surprised to see him really make a run at this thing.
Pete's won twice on tour, Bassmaster events.
Fishing in the Classic as a result of those, and that is a huge accomplishment for anglers who are, You know, we can call this a national circuit, but oftentimes when we get to a specific division that's a northern division or a central or a southern, you have a lot more regional anglers. He is one who is well versed across the country, but this is his neck of the woods, and that's why you see some of these anglers really rise up. But this week, I was shocked to see a lot less locals and people who are really good on these bodies of water succeed. It really kind of evened the playing field with that super high tide and the fish not biting like they have normally this time of the year.
That's right, and the elite guys, you know, we just came off of 2 weeks on the road, going all over the place. So they had a few days between when we got home and then when they started practicing for this. So I can tell you, I know that, you know, Iaconelli and Schmidt and Ed Lockroad, and I mean, they were still, you know, recovering from being on the road, and I think that probably didn't allow them to kind of spend the time that they needed to really dial it in. Pete stays on this body of water, so I think Pete could have not practiced for the last week and been just fine.
Exactly. Such, it's been very do or die. We know we talk about the limit aspect of these tournaments. You got to bring 5 in most of the time to even have a shot, but this week we have at least 3 anglers fishing on the final day that failed to get a limit one of their days or both of their days. The fact that it's been so do or die, is it concerning to you to see the leader who has started fast every single day still with 0?
Yes,
he had a big lead, but you know, you don't want to just give it all back real quick in the morning.
I was going to say that he had said his spot has fired very early and he's got to finish his fishing by noon and hang out and go look around, and not having a fish this late in the morning. They've already been out there a little while.
Well, speaking of tidal fisheries, the tide gets later each day.
Yes.
So if you...
By, what is it, 45 minutes to an hour?
It's about 50 minutes later each day, so roughly an hour. So if he's been starting early, the tide that he's done all of his damage is going to come up in about 2 to 3 hours, and then it should be, that'll be the time to tell what's really happening here.
The key, and you know this, during that waiting time, if it doesn't go like you think it should in the morning, is to keep your head on straight.
Every time I catch one.
Not to spin yourself out, not to get worried and change up your plan. Stick to your guns if you know there's fish in that area.
Yeah, I've had a really good start this morning. I've caught 3 really solid fish. I mean, all fish that I would weigh in, really. And I've only been fishing. I went up my primary bank 1 time. So at this time yesterday, I didn't even have a fish. So I was probably just getting down here yesterday at this time. So pretty excited about the day. The tide hasn't even started coming out yet. It's right about dead high right now. You can see all the water's back way behind these reeds. They probably got 40 or 50 feet of water back behind them for the fish to be in. And I don't know, I've had 3 really good bites, caught them all, and I just come back on this side of the bank. I've been catching all my fish just up this little 100-yard stretch of bank right here. And I caught 9 keepers here yesterday. I've had 3 here already today, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens when this tide falls out. I think I'm gonna have several more opportunities to catch big fish. And on a tidal fishery, it's all about timing. I mean, you can go down a bank, not get a bite, and come back down it on the right tide and catch 4 or 5 fish down it. So, I mean, this bank's loaded with fish. There's fish all down it. I think a lot of them are where I can't catch them right now. They're back in the reeds where I can't get to them. So, yeah, I expect to get several more opportunities to catch big fish. I just gotta execute, and I'm having a good time. This is my favorite way to catch fish, and I can't complain. I'm here on the championship Saturday and having a good time fishing, so that's what it's all about, and I look forward to seeing how it goes the rest of the day.
Trevor Mckinney from McKendree University, a recent college graduate. He was the 2020 College Bass Bracket Champion, got to fish in the Bassmaster Classic in 2021 and represent the entire college series through the Opens last season. Now it's his first year out of college and on his own, and look at that, 2 top 10s already in the Opens this season. Trevor Mckinney with a great breakdown of his morning. We'll be back. We already have great turns of events. If you want some drama, a 7-pound lead wasn't drama this morning, but it is now, as we have JT Tompkins coming from 9th place. A great start to the day, up into the lead right now. A 2-pound, 2-ounce lead over our day 2 leader, Chris Boudry, still waiting to get on the board. We will hear from him, Trevor McKinney, Kyle Austin, Duke Nave, and the rest of our top 10 when we come back from commercial break on Bassmaster Live at the Upper Chesapeake Bay.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. It's sponsored by Humminbird, Mercury, Nitro Boats, and by Bass Pro Shops.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. The St. Croix Bassmaster opens at the Upper Chesapeake, brought to you by Mossy Oak Fishing. Cecil County, Maryland, Northeast Maryland is the town and the county that we're in this week. We have whittled the field down. This is our semi-pro series. If you're a fan of fishing or you've been watching the Bassmaster Elite Series on Fox Sports 1 each weekend of the season, you'll know the Elite Series is the top level in professional fishing. This is the pathway and the level to get there. This is called the Bassmaster Opens. We have anglers from 20 years old to 70 years old competing in the Opens, trying to get a shot at the Bassmaster Classic and the Bassmaster Elite Series. A guy who's been close the last few years through the points race to make the Elite Series, Kyle Austin from the Santee Cooper Lakes region in South Carolina.
So this morning it's been about the same as it was yesterday. I've got 4 little small ones, nothing crazy, right below 7 pounds or so. And it seemed yesterday when the sun got up and the tide started to move a little bit, whether it was going, back up or going down, seemed like they were setting up better around these, isolated pieces of wood, and you can actually catch some fish. So that's the plan today. Hopefully we're going to target 3+ pounders, and hopefully we get 5 of them. That'd be the goal. I can still see the fish down here. It's just they're not willing to bite this morning too good. We got a couple other boats around us, and everybody seems to be catching a couple fish here and there. So we do know there's still life in the area.
John Scipione getting a great shot of Kyle's electronics and his forward-facing sonar, being able to see some of those structures. It's cool probably if you just sat on the water, didn't even make a cast, and got to watch fish on structure on a tidal body of water and how they raise in the water column, get tight to the structure as the different tides fall, come and go, or just time of day wise, just to see how they react.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could keep your forward-facing sonar on one piece of cover, a good piece of cover there on a tidal fishery, you'd be surprised at how many times you'd pull up and there'd be 1, then you pull up and there's 3, then you just watch and there'll be none, and then you watch and there's 2. Those tidal fisheries with that water moving, the fish are always moving around, and that's why you see some of the guys like Kyle Austin. He's staying in one area right here. He's just making repeated casts, hoping that those fish move around and show up right there where he's trying to catch them.
Kyle Austin said he's been going old school. No one talks about the Texas rig anymore, but when he is fishing a little off the bank, he'll throw a Texas rig around. He's also been throwing a square bill crankbait with a quote-unquote secret crawfish pattern. I don't know how secret. Maybe we can get a glimpse of that today when he does start to wind around a moving bait. But like you mentioned, the Dean is his nickname. Pete Glusik, often one of the main teachers and seminar anglers for Bass University, a great teacher and a guy who knows the Chesapeake Bay very well.
Let's roll. Point.
Oh, no. Oh, my Lord.
Oh, my God. I'm all right.
I'm cool.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Oh, my gosh, dude.
Was that live?
Yeah, you were
It's good that he smiled. Very good that he smiled.
That was graceful.
Staying calm.
Dude,
Getting to the ladder.
I never...
Yeah, Bass Cat has a built-in ladder. Very nice feature.
Lord have mercy. Come on, man.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the Chesapeake.
Woo! Yes.
Damn. The bigger problem is
He
broke his
he
cord.
broke his cord. That's why he's not just clumsy. He pulled his trolling motor cord, which is made of rope most of the time. Sometimes it's
cable.
It's got some cable coating, yeah, metal. And now it snapped. He has to now somehow find a way to release that the rest of the day to be able to pull his trolling motor up.
Backing up and just tumbled. I've seen Ike do that.
It's really hard not to fall, or at least fall in the water when that happens.
Oh, no doubt. It's the last thing you expect. Hey, and I came to Pete Glusik saying he was familiar with the Chesapeake. I didn't know he was this familiar with it.
Here it
Getting
is.
an up close.
Bang.
I'm
Oh,
just
no.
glad he didn't get hurt. That's a. I mean, I don't know what the Russian judges would give him, but that's an 8.5 out of 10.
It was more graceful than when Ike and Ellie fell in the water fishing filming with Zona.
Yeah, exactly. He broke all of his rods.
Yes.
Now he's got the banter to look forward to later.
Oh, that's
Oh
the
my
first
God.
thing anglers ask now. Was that live? Knowing that everyone in the world just saw it. I'm glad he's okay though. That is
I'm glad he could have heard something falling on his back like that.
He did mention he used to be one of the young guys in the top 10s, and now he's the oldest guy in the top 10 this week. He's very seasoned. Like we mentioned, a couple classics to his resume.
That other one off on.
Kyle Austin's stuck on some structure and trying to poke his
got a
bait
back
free.
toe.
I was looking up Pete. He won a Cayuga and on Lake Martin.
Yeah.
Kind of different bodies of water.
Yeah, he won at Lake Martin early on in his career with a big mop jig. He was going right behind guys catching big largemouth, and they were. Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was right before I started fishing full time.
1999.
Yeah, Pete went down there and put the wood to him.
He also he's led a few times going into the final day up north on the Great Lakes, you know, Lake Erie, I think twice, but out of 2 different locations on Lake Erie. I know he had to ask me why I didn't come and cover him on the final day of an open when he was leading, and I said, well, it's because you were going like 100 miles out into the Great Lakes, and I just was not comfortable with locating you out there.
I think this is his 120th tournament with B.A.S.S. Got 2 wins, 2 seconds.
He's got to be one of the most seasoned anglers, because the only people who normally get over 100 bass tournaments are the ones who fish on the Elite Series, and they fish 9 a year. If you're fishing the Opens, 3 a season, maybe 6 or 9 a season at most.
When Pete,
combine all the other
Ronnie
events,
Moore, I
he's
didn't
been
say he
around
was
for a
old.
long time.
when Pete won at Lake Martin, that was the top 100.
Which was back in the day.
And they had more than a few events. I don't know the number. It was 6 or 8 events a year. So that was where he probably racked up most of his total. Got the 4-bucks here. Kyle Austin talking about that crankbait, and it's a crawfish color. I hate to break it to him, but everybody there throws the crankbait in the fall, crawfish color in the fall.
100%.
So maybe he's a little ahead of schedule.
Yes, he said it was a different. Him and his roommate had a different variation of what you would standard think a bright red crankbait that's a crawfish color. It might be one of those subtle, more translucent patterns, because even though it's a tidal body of water, and we often see dirty water come into these fisheries, and it might be a little more stained, this week it has stayed relatively clear, even with all the rain that's came in. And Pete Glusik kind of explained it on the phone last night, saying there is local flooding where the rain hits the Chesapeake directly, like they had in practice. They had a lot of storms in practice. But then the regional flooding is really what can get you, and that's when it floods west of there in the Susquehanna River, and it comes down there and it pumps into the system. That affects it more than the local rains that actually hit this body of water.
That's right. Yeah, it's about where it comes into.
We had a
we were talking about that
2018
earlier.
event.
You were talking about salinity, though, and that knocks back the salinity during the summer. It gets tough. Explain that again, John.
Sure. Yeah. Any of these tidal fisheries in the summertime, when they don't have that rain flow coming in like they do in the spring and in the early summer, the salinity level, the salt content in the water starts creeping up in from the ocean. It gets all the way up here to the upper Chesapeake Bay where these guys are fishing. I mean, Ed Lochran caught a crab on a Carolina rig during the event, so that tells you what kind of salinity levels are up there and all the different life. But as that salinity comes in, one theory a lot of us anglers have is that the high salt content in the water makes the fish's metabolism slow down. The fish don't leave. They just don't eat as often as they do when they have more fresh water in there. So that rain that they had earlier this week, I think that really benefited Chris Boudry, the area he was fishing.
Yes.
He talked about seeing a lot of water out of a big culvert coming right into where near he's fishing. I think that it's not like those fish moved in there. Those fish were there. They just probably bit a little bit better with that fresh water in there.
That is something we will see if Chris Boudry's area. You know, we talked about the tide fluctuation. Maybe an hour later today is when he gets started, but the day 2 leader had a 7-pound lead over second place. That has all gone away. JT Tompkins coming from 9th place. We've seen the flip-flop of the leaderboard tosses and turns as it's the uncertainty of catching a 5-fish limit is there. JT Tompkins, though, has his limit, and it's a good one. He's growing it as we speak. He's in 1st place, followed by Chris Boudry and Trevor Mckinney. We'll be right back from the upper Chesapeake Bay and Bassmaster Live.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Starts Saturday strong with America's #1 game window. Big noon Saturday. Legendary powerhouses collide as Bryce Young and the top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide take on the Texas Longhorns today at noon Eastern on Fox. John Cruz, Texas Nation, hook 'em horns or roll tide. What are you thinking for this event? Because they got a great young quarterback, Quinn Ewers there, great mullet as well for Texas, and I know that they want to bring their best for the Crimson
Mullet's
Tide.
hard to beat, but I can't go against the Tide, dude. Yeah. You can't go against the Tide.
Not early in the season. I feel like Nick Saban's got a little chip on his shoulder with all the coaches and all the players been chirping Alabama lately. I feel like that this is a good opportunity for him to prove it on a national stage in the biggest window of college football.
He always has a chip on his shoulder.
Exactly.
It's constant.
Biggin, biggin, big biggin. Oh my gosh.
Chad Pipkins.
Stay.
On the spinning rod, doing most of his
Big
damage.
Coming your way. Stay on, big girl. Get out of that grass. Get out of that grass. Get up out of there. Come on, lift your head, girl. Come here, you big beast. Gotcha, sucker! Got him!
Yeah, dude.
Woo! Come on! I told you we could see a little hole there. Woo! Mr. 360 don't lie, neither does the lie. That's one. Beats my last couple days with no fish at 11. That's a party starter. Give me some knuckles, Kiko. Boom! Come on with it. Oh, man, that's a goodie. That's what lives here, man. Like, they're all 2.5 to 4 something. It's hard to find them. Like, I can't see right now. Oh, buddy, whoa, buddy, whoa.
Got some great drone out there as well, live, while Chad hooked up and caught that fish.
It only took one bite to have us have a better start than I've been having, so. I pitched it out there, dude, and picked up. I'm like, it's kind of stuck. And it kind of starts sliding off. I'm like, oh, that's the right stuck. Come on. I like it. Yeah, you can do three, 4.
Chad Pipkins, Elite Series pro, the only Elite Series angler in our top 10. Right now, Hunter Schrock is the first man out of the Classic from the Elite points. He's watching Chad Pipkins and Duke Nave today. If one of those anglers can win, it will work down the list for him to make the Classic. But Chad Pipkins finished 3rd here in 2015. I don't know what it is about it, but he said he fished an event here in 2010, 12 years ago. He learned something. Even though he did terrible in that event, he learned something that's coming into play this week. And overall, even though he's from Michigan, man, what a patient angler, a finesse angler as well, great with a drop shot, and that's been something he's been utilizing. While a lot of anglers have probably fished too fast through areas, he's been able to come behind him and catch him this week.
Yeah, Chad, just from knowing him for a number of years, he doesn't spin out, and I think that's important on tidal fisheries, to where if things don't go your way right off the bat, you don't get flustered, you don't get you know, all these thoughts running through your head about how you're not going to catch them. Chad's not like that, as you can see. He's just cool, calm, collect, just taking his time. He knows that's kind of a bonus fish for how he's been catching them a little bit later in the day, from what it sounds like. He didn't forget he's been fist bumping everybody in the boat, including Kiko, his lucky doll. And so now
we'll get more info on that one for sure later.
Yeah, he's got two young children, so I'm sure that's where that came from. It's hard leaving your kids, you know, once you become a professional angler, and then have to leave them back at home. So that's just a little something I'm sure he's using to motivate himself to make sure he brings home a big trophy, which he is on his way to trying to do.
Chad Pipkins out there fishing. It's been pretty beautiful during the tournament days compared to practice, but I think we're going to get a little bit more of a forecast update from our girl Amy Freeze with Fox Weather about what these anglers are going to have to deal with the afternoon, which is going to be a very key window of time.
Hey there, anglers. I'm Fox Weather's Amy Freeze. This is the Bassmaster Northern Open forecast. Weather today on the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland is muggy but decent. You can expect mainly clouds, a few sun breaks, and a high of 81 degrees. Very little wind, but anglers do keep in mind there's a slight risk of showers late in the day. Good luck to all the pros out there. Catch some hogs. Remember, you can download the Fox Weather app or stream Fox Weather from your favorite connected TV device.
I don't know if you can sum up the Chesapeake Bay any better than that weather hit. Muggy but decent. It's one of those things when you get on a tidal body of water in the summertime, you can either face some of the hottest conditions you've ever experienced, but also some of the most humid conditions. And the storms later in the day, John, could bring a front. Maybe fronts often make fish bite. With a good low tide or a good high tide around that time period with the storm, it could end up being a good afternoon of fishing as well.
It very much could. It looks like it's Chamber of Commerce weather there right now. Got a little sun, no wind. You know, Chad he talked about catching that fish off 360. At 360 is that sonar device that Humminbird makes, to where you can get a map, kind of a topo map, if you will, of what's all the way around the boat. You can adjust it further out or closer in. He was using that to find a hole in the grass, and it looks like Chad maybe hooked up again. Okay.
We'll see which species that was, or maybe we'll get another look at that later. But we come back to our unofficial leader. I will say, I always think about what drama could happen. I did not think 9th place JT Tompkins would be our unofficial leader right now. And
he started out back 11 pounds, 6 ounces. He's made it up, and he's up by 2 pounds and change.
And he's calling.
The only angler with a limit so far.
But that'll call.
John Cruz are getting younger and younger, man.
Yeah, these young guys are studs, man. You know, we're in the information age, and there's so much information out there. These guys are able to get out there and absorb all of it and what's relative, and then put it to use out there on tour. There's all these high school programs, all these college programs, so these guys are getting to fish quite a bit. And he just called with one that's probably a mid to high 2 right there, calling a, looked like about 1.5 pounds.
This week,
got a pound cull, I believe, out of that.
This week, 9 pounds has been a good bag. Limit, catching 5 fish has been very important for. There were some anglers missing out on Elite Series opportunities because they didn't get a limit on the final day of their season. So already having a limit, already having 14 pounds or so at least, what a good start for JT Tompkins. And hey, when you're 11 pounds down, that's what you need, is the leader to stumble and you to have your best day of the week, and that's what he's doing right now.
Yeah, this thing's far from over. I think JT's figured him something out. It's this, like we mentioned earlier, this is a place that a lot of big ones live.
I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, Pipkins was the biggest we've seen today. It was a 3 pound, 6 ouncer, but on day 1, Cole Drummond, a 5 pound 13. That's a monster. Several other 5 pounders that day. And yesterday, Daryl Gleason, another lead pro, caught a 5.7. Big bass of the day.
That's all you want to do, is have a solid, consistent 5 fish limit, and then have the opportunity to catch maybe one of those 4.5 to 5.5 pounders.
At least I know they relate to
and jump yourself up to the biggest bag of the tournament. And JT, we saw in his highlights this morning, the first fish or so that he caught was one of the best and most healthy looking fish we've seen this week.
Come here, Bertha.
You talked about healthy. You know, the fishery here is the upper Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is one of the most healthy ecosystems on the whole East Coast, as far as there's a ton of tributaries. This is the very upper end of it. The Susquehanna River is what feeds this. They are fishing in the mouth of the Susquehanna, where that Susquehanna dumps into the upper Chesapeake Bay. Is what they call the Susquehanna Flats. It is a like 3 mile by 5 mile flat. It's 0 to 5 feet of water for 3 by 5 miles. That flat is covered in grass. There's eelgrass, there's stargrass, sometimes there's other types of grass like hydrilla, milfoil. It's all mixed out there. It is just a perfect place for bass to live. A lot of the anglers, they have a hard time seeing that massive, massive grass flat and being able to pinpoint where those fish are. That's another reason I think this fishery is fishing a little bit tough right now. A lot of those fish get out there and they just get lost in that giant maze. But man, that is just a really, really healthy ecosystem for these guys to be playing on.
It definitely is a good filtration system of all of that water rushing down from the different rivers like the Northeast River or the Susquehanna River. That is something we'll keep an eye out on. It hasn't played this week. The flats have not been the dominating place so far, but a guy like Pete Glusik, maybe a guy like Duke Nave or Chad Pipkins, a lot of experience on this body of water. Maybe at a certain point, it will be a key fish for them as we look at JT Tompkins extending his lead just a little bit more as he is our unofficial leader, followed by Chris Boudry, the day 2 leader, Trevor Mckinney in 3rd place, and the rest of our top 10 will be right back at the Upper Chesapeake.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live. We mentioned it at the top of the show. To fish against the best, you have to beat the rest, and that is what happens here at the St. Croix Bassmaster Opens at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. It is the semi-pro series, and we are finishing up the Northern Opens division in Cecil County, Maryland, in the Northeast Maryland region. The Chesapeake Bay, one of the biggest bodies of water in the world as it flows all the way from Northeast Maryland out to the ocean. As we unlock the lake and fly a little bit of the lay of the lake, John Cruz, it is a tidal fishery. We explained that. The water comes in and out based on the moon and also the ocean fluctuation. Freshwater meets saltwater and the tidal swing of 2 to 3 feet. But this week with a full moon, we've seen higher high tides than ever before.
That's right. Yeah, the Upper Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake Bay is one of those ecosystems, as we talked about earlier. It is just chock full of life from the beginning to the end, all the way up there to the Upper Chesapeake. The Susquehanna River is what feeds this upper portion of the Chesapeake Bay. That's where you get the biggest influx of water. It's been a drier spring, so a little more of a salinity problem up in this part as far as the fishing goes, but as you can see, the guys, these are really good anglers, and they're figuring out how to catch them on this body of water.
And you see where takeoff is there in the Northeast River arm of the Chesapeake Bay. It seems to always be a factor. Not only is it where most, if not all, of the tournaments will go out of, so it kind of gets repopulated. If people go 50, 60 miles away and catch a limit of fish, they bring them back to there to release them, and it seems to always bring more fish to the most pressured area of the lake, which is good because you get a good mix of a lot of fish, but it's not the easiest place to fish on the body of water.
Sad as that sounds, because I got a fish. Actually had two known bass bites. I was fishing the edge where I caught some good ones on a chatterbait in practice when the water was down, and just I have not caught them out there yet, but some guys have. There's been a lot of boats in the areas over here, just the tide hasn't been right. Had a couple catfish bumps, and we did have one snatch my worm on the fall. Felt like a good pressure bite, and it just did not have the hook. Took the worm and stripped me down. I slid back up here. We got some little clear spots. It's just really hard to see in the morning. That's the only hard part. In the afternoon when the water gets lower and the sun gets up, I can pick apart the little holes. So right now I'm just kind of relying on 360 mostly, and that you can see some little lanes. And that last big one I caught, it's probably like a solid 3.5 pounder. I mean, that's kind of what I've been catching here, three to, I think I had a 4.5 yesterday. It's hard to get bit.
I see Chad went against
the little lanes and
the rules and went on with the white pants after Labor Day.
Yes, white pants.
But it's working today.
It's
working. I'll be honest.
But isn't every day on the calendar after Labor Day and before Labor Day at the same time? Since it's a cyclical thing, you know, like.
Is that kind of like how a clock's right? If it stops, it's right twice a day.
Exactly what that is.
Yeah, yeah. If we're going based on the calendar year, we are after Labor Day, but we are before the next Labor Day. So I don't know. I mean, it's up to debate. I think we need to let the ladies tell us. We'll guide on.
You're totally wrong, Ronnie, because it's between Labor Day and Memorial Day. That's when the fashion calendar runs.
Okay. That I did not know that. I learned
He's
something new today.
worn wilder colored pants, and we all know.
Oh yeah, he's a trendsetter with that fashion. I absolutely love it.
Sponsored by a hair salon company because his hair is absolutely fabulous. Maybe we'll see that today after he takes his hat off.
He's one of the most positive guys on the Elite Series, though. He's always ready to go and happy about it.
For sure. One developing situation that we've had today, there are a lot of different rules for the Bassmaster Opens, Bassmaster Elite Series, Bassmaster Tournament Trail in general, whether you fish the College Series, the Opens, the Elites. And one of those is the situation with insurance. You need to be insured for the right amount to be able to compete on your vessel. These vessels are quite expensive. They also have the liability coverage and things. You have to have a certain amount of level for Bassmaster Opens competition, Bassmaster competition in general. And one of our top 10 anglers today, we hate to have to talk about this, but he has been DQ'd from the event because a lack of insurance to the level. He has insurance, but not to the level that is required. And John, I know you can speak to the level that is necessary for Bassmaster competition.
That's right, yeah. With Bassmaster competition, it is a minimum of $300,000 liability coverage that is needed. As for me being a professional, I've got way more than that, including an umbrella policy. And most of these anglers, including Chad, I'm sure they have well more than the minimum. But that's just kind of what we need to be able to, because we have other people in the boat, we have camera people, we have co-anglers, we have marshals, we have different people in our boats. We need to make sure that we have everything covered as we're out there competing, because it's not always looking like this in the background with no wind and sun. Sometimes it gets a little challenging.
Yeah, so we got to talk to Hank Weldon, our tournament director, who kind of briefed us on what was possibly going down. He gave the angler, Trey Swindle, the most time possible to be able to get on the phone, confirm what insurance coverage he does have, and if it's to the level that he needs for this tournament. And unfortunately, it did not meet that. And we got to hear from Hank and his explanation on that rule.
I got you. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Yeah, and I maybe can condense that a little bit too. Two-taker today. Yeah.
All right, so I'm rolling again whenever you're ready.
So BA.S requires all vessels to be insured at $300,000 of liability level coverage per each occurrence or higher. And we always check boats 1 and 2 each morning of our competition. And Trey Swindle was in second place this morning going out, so that means he was boat 2. And we checked his insurance, and unfortunately that policy that he provided us did not show $300,000 or higher. So that means he was under the level required by BA.S, and we will have to hold him until he can provide proof that his vessel was covered during official practice and competition this week of that level or higher. And if he can't, that will lead to a disqualification. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern with him. He's trying to get in touch with some agents and see if they can move that proof over. But if he's not unable to provide that proof, then he will be disqualified from the tournament.
That's our tournament director, Hank Weldon, who has moved up from the college level to the Opens level as tournament director. And that was just a little while ago. It is now 8:53 Eastern time. It's been about 2.5 hours since takeoff happened. Just a few minutes ago, it was confirmed he did not have the appropriate amount, so he has been disqualified. We will fish 9 anglers on this final day the rest of the day. He said, I will give you until 2:29 to prove it if you want to find the proof that you need. He found it earlier than that, obviously, and it was not to the level. So that was a little bit earlier as they were in a holding pattern, but he has been disqualified.
That's a heartbreaker,
that is, because it's a great event for a young angler.
To be in second place, the closest competitor.
For sure.
Makes me want to throw up. It really does.
It's tough. As we go out to David Gaston from Alabama, hooked up.
Oh, my God. That's a nice one.
That's a good one.
That's a nice one. It's the biggest one I've caught all week.
Good day to do it.
That'll work.
Looked like a bait fell out of his mouth.
One. Ain't no need to put a cold tag on him.
Putting that fish in the jacuzzi known as the live well.
Fills up fast.
Fish this week have to be 12
man, I
inches,
thought it
and
was
that
a
is one that,
catfish.
like he said, you don't
That's what
need to
I'm
measure,
talking about.
don't need to put a cold tag in it. That is one of the good ones on the upper Chesapeake Bay this week. David Gaston, I said, how did you make it through this tough competition to the final day? And he said, man, I have no idea. I've just been fishing around as much as I possibly can, covering as much water with a couple different colors of chatterbaits, which is a bladed jig, a vibrating jig, and it is a great fish catcher around a lot of cover, especially grass. And you can see on his graph right here as he's landing it, you can see on his units little clumps of grass there, and that could be what he is targeting with that chatterbait. And that is, you know, that is a great fish catcher from the east to the west to the north and the south.
Yeah, chatterbait's always a good bait on tidal fisheries. That is a white chatterbait, looks like he's throwing there, and he has a nice limber rod, which is key on a chatterbait. And I think David might be able to tell us a little bit more about it here.
David, tell us about your morning and what baits you've been using.
Man, I've just been throwing a chatterbait all week. I ain't caught nothing. I ain't caught anything dragging. I mean, I caught some little bitty dinks on square bill and stuff like that, but as far as keepers goes, the only thing I can catch a fish on is a chatterbait. In this area we're out, the flats out here, I found some smallmouth here in practice, and I didn't want to run all the way down to where I've been catching them at the past couple days, because I'd catch a limit down there and come back up and catch, you know, one or two nice ones that would cull whatever I had in there inside northeast. So I said, well, instead of making that drive today, I don't have much time to fish when I get down there, and the tide ain't right anyway, I'll just stay up here and goof off. If I catch them, I catch them. If I don't, I don't. So only thing you do is keep winding. I caught a largemouth out here. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I know they're here. We caught smallmouth all week right out here in this area, but it's just all this eel grass, and I guess that chestnut grass, I don't know what it's called. Big old clumps. And out here, I just got some holes marked. They're probably, you know, 10 by 10 or 20 by 20 holes in the grass with a white sandy bottom. And I was driving through here and saw them, just looked over the side of the boat when the tide was low. Come back and threw on when the tide got back right, and caught some, you know, keeper smallmouth.
David Gaston giving us Bass Pro Shop's top lures there. He said he has caught nothing all week except on a chatterbait, and he's just been covering water a lot of different ways. You can use the high tide and the low tide to your advantage, not even catching fish, but just noticing things like the bottom, seeing clarity, seeing how areas react. In some places, the tide might not go out. Yesterday, the outgoing tide never really happened, so low tide yesterday was actually at the normal level that high tide is. So they've experienced a bloated upper Chesapeake. A lot of water in this fishery, and David Gaston doing his best. Was in 9th place before that 3.5 pounder, and I know that one will help his bottom line overall. That's a solid fish for him. David Gaston, Timmy Tompkins, Chad Pipkins all putting shots across the bow of our leader, Chris Boudry, falling down to 2nd place. He's holding serve there from his 2-day total of weights, waiting for his first fish catch of the final day, and we will see how that helps him on the leaderboard. JT Tompkins in the driver's seat, though. Wouldn't it be something? This 20-year-old angler comes from 11 pounds down and maybe makes the Bassmaster Classic today. We'll find out more when we get back from commercial break.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Welcome back to Fox Sports 1 and the Bassmaster Open Series at the Upper Chesapeake Bay Green. That's all kinds of wildlife here at the Upper Chesapeake.
Not sure if that's accurate, but that was a snake before that, I'm pretty sure.
We got all kinds of nature. You wouldn't expect between Baltimore and, you know, between Baltimore and DC and, whoa, is that a dragon?
And Philly?
Yeah, in Philadelphia that you would find such nature, but this is a great place.
I think.
Bird behind it.
That's a great
swing. Does the dragon attract ducks? to them, you know, to come by the blind? They're curious what it is?
I'm not sure. That
They
could be
needed a light, maybe.
Loch Ness
Whoa.
duck.
So we take it over to Kyle Patrick. He's been making a long run every single day, one of the longest runs of any angler, as he's gotten back into some pond access and on previous days, a kind of contained environment.
Yeah, it's a backwater type deal up in the Gunpowder area.
Yeah. Doesn't get affected by tides as much. Doesn't get affected by wind or any other kind of thing.
Here we go.
Get bass. Yep, it is. No!
Came out of his shoes there.
That can't happen. My heart is racing. Oh no. That's so painful. Oh my goodness. Not even close to as big. God. Is that even 12? There's no way. Well, I'm bringing a fish in at least. God. Just like that, dude. God. It's hard to even be happy about that, you know what I mean?
It's hard to be happy about that, but Chris Boudry would love it. There's a couple of
Right.
anglers who would love it, you know, and he's a spry young gentleman, Kyle Patrick is, but like you said, almost came out of his shoes there, did a little bit, and then almost stepped off the boat as we go over to a guy who did take a tumble and a fall earlier today, Pete Glusik, kind of getting in that area, not on the flats, but not too far from him, and this is a neck of region of the upper Chesapeake he has spent a bunch of time on.
I'm glad we get to check on Pete's pants here. They're drying out, which is good.
It is good.
It's outfit too, isn't it?
Fishing some rocks there.
Careful.
Just faking us out. It's like a good fish here.
Ah, come on. That's what we're talking about right there, baby. Ronnie Moore showing pictures of me falling in. Come on. Where's my audio?
Oh, he's after you, Ronnie.
He should fish with no hat on. He's got great
Come
hair.
on.
He does.
More than the Bath and the Chesapeake. Shut me down, bitches.
Oh no. We pardon that, excuse the language there, but Pete is a little fired up after having a...
Are you sure you didn't say britches?
He might be talking about his drying out pants, but that'll help Bass Track for sure. It'll put him up the leaderboard a little bit more. And one thing that's interesting that you got to keep an eye on, the opportunity there for Pete Glusik started the day in third. His nearest guy chasing was Trey Swindle, who is not fishing today. He got DQ'd. We mentioned that earlier. If you're just joining us, we have 9 fishing today. Lack of insurance to the level that's necessary. He had insurance, but not proof of 300,000, which is bass competition. So he is in. He is not fishing, and the leader right now has 0. So Pete knows the opportunity is there to maybe sneak a win.
Yeah, he started 7-13 back. He can make that up easily.
Mushroom head. You get it started in the worm. I know you can't hear the audio, but it helps me. Get in about that far. You take your crazy glue. And you brush just a little bit right there. And then you mash it all the way in. Just like so. You got crazy glue on my fingers. Make sure you don't glue them together. I've glued my fingers together, my lips together.
Pete giving you the inside scoop on his bait rig.
Cable.
There's the reason for his swimming action earlier. But yeah, Pete was giving you the lowdown on his bait rig. You know, that's something that Pete's been doing for a long time. And, you know, Bass University, that he's the dean because he is a teacher, a great teacher. They have a ton of seminars on their website and on their YouTube page.
You'll see you there as well.
I've done a number of seminars for him, and I've learned a lot of stuff from Pete, actually.
I don't know if that rig, maybe for layman's terms, I think that's close to the chicken rig. It might be the chicken rig, a little bit different, but that mushroom head, putting it in the tail of the bait, rigging it like you normally would a Texas rig, allows it to fall straight down so he can put it into cover and out of cover with a lot more weedless approach than a drop shot would be or other things.
Right, it's definitely a different presentation. That bait falls a little bit differently. It doesn't exactly horizontally fall. It kind of glides backwards, and then when you hop it, it glides backwards at kind of funny angles depending on how heavy of a weight you have in that tail. But Pete's been messing around with this tail-weighted Senko deal for a number of years. When he won at Cayuga, he was throwing a Senko around shallow docks, and Texas rig around the grass. So he is a Senko guy for sure.
He's been utilizing a Senko with that tail-weighted mushroom head. Lightweight, so it's not super dramatic, but it allows him to present it the way he wants to. He's also had to fish soft plastic creature baits as well and gone flipping. He said he has not gotten a moving bait bite going, even though he knows this time of the year a shallow crankbait can work, a bladed jig can work. He's had to go finesse on him with the pressure as well in the areas. So Pete Glusik, one of the best here, kind of providing us with a couple good moments. A good bait breakdown, a good tumble earlier this morning. Thank goodness he is A-OK. His cable snapped, pulled it up with his full force, expecting it to come up, broke the cable, fell in.
He still had it in his hand.
Nicely. He recovered nicely, got back in the boat, and has landed some fish. Started the day in third place, falling down a little bit, but you see how tight those weights are. The opportunity still there for Pete to get a 10 or 11-pound day and surpass the unofficial leader, JT Tompkins, who has made the biggest move of the day, Such.
Yeah, and the last fish moved Pete up to fourth place.
Fourth place for Pete Glusik. We'll get that updated when we come back, and it's plugged into Bass Track. Kyle Austin, the rest of the top 10, we'll see more when we come back to Bassmaster Live.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the St. Croix Bassmaster Opens on the upper Chesapeake Bay. Some great drone visuals, beautiful weather today, like Amy Freeze said earlier. A little muggy, but decent weather today. Maybe some storms coming in later today. We'll keep an eye on that. But fronts, that's not what you want to see when you're on land and you're hanging out. You don't want it to rain on your parade, but on the water, those weather systems that move in can make the fish fire up, and we can see fireworks throughout the afternoon. Possibly, as we have already seen fireworks this morning. Pete Glusik, the top right of your screen, Chad Pipkins, bottom right, Trevor McKinney, bottom left, and Chris Boudry, our day 2 leader, currently with 0 in the top left. He has surrendered his lead to JT Tompkins, but still holding tight. All he needs is a couple pounds.
Slow this morning.
Right back in the game.
There's 0 water movement right now with the tide, and they're just going to keep sticking at it. Hope that they start biting for us a little bit later. I think my best fishing today is probably going to be between 12 and 2. But I'd like to get a limit before then and make the day a little bit easier. But I guess if you're going to win and make the Bassmaster Classic, you're going to have to work for it.
We're listening to Chris Boudry in the top left.
Well, so the spot we're on right now, yesterday, once I got my limit that I thought was enough, I started looking for other areas like it, and this is only about a half a mile away from my primary spot, and I've made 3 casts on it and caught a 3.5 pounder, and then I left. So I don't know if there's any more in the rest of this mat or not, but I'll probably fish this one at least a couple times today. Because here timing is so key. Like, you'll have windows when they bite, and when they're not doing it, the Dead Seas, it seems like.
John, the wind's only 4 or 5 miles an hour right now. It's going to climb to 10.
The best because
Can that help?
You have less water.
It should help the flats bite a little bit. But Boudry's got all the background noise because he's right near the 95 bridge there at the Susquehanna River. It's interesting, they're all doing a little different techniques. Boudry's throwing a frog over top of that matted grass. Pete's throwing that mushroom rig we just talked about a few minutes ago. Trevor Mckinney's pitching and flipping up against the bank on some flooded grass. And then Pipkins was just throwing a popper, topwater popper, after we saw him catch that fish on the drop shot. So a bunch of different techniques working for the guys out here right now.
Had 2 bites the first day watching them eat it, which was pretty cool.
When it's calm and still, a popper is one of the best topwaters because it still gets their attention when they're feeding upwards. But it's not super intrusive where it's going to scare off or kind of freak out any fish nearby.
Right, popper's it's kind of a sleeper bait on tidal fisheries. It can work very well. But Chad, he throws that popper a lot of places. I know that he caught some of his big smallmouth up at the St. Lawrence. I talked to him up there on a popper.
That is what I grew up watching, and I just say it, I get the chills just because it's what you dream about as a kid. And I've been real fortunate. Somehow this is already my 10th year full time. It'll be 6 classics, 4 in a row. Feel like I'm getting in stride, and just need to put a whole year together one time or a whole 4 days and win one of these things one time. It's hard to do. I mean, you're fishing against the best in the world, and like literally everything has to go right. So when it's your time, and I feel like my time's coming. I'm ready to rock, and just gonna keep hunting. I love every minute of it. I love the struggle, the fun, the bad. I like it all because that's what, when it happens, that's what makes it. Right here yesterday, I caught a 4.5 at 3:30. You know, I had 2 fish, and that feeling is what drives us all to fish. And to have that happen, like in something like the Classic, whew, keeps me up at night in a good way. I'm excited to be Classic qualified, and I will again pre-apologize to my wife because her question was, "Well, you already made your goal. Why are you coming?" Which is totally understandable. So we love you, but I just, we had a good talk, and felt like I'm fishing in stride. I'm like, I just feel like I got a commitment here and that I had a chance to win, and she told me 1st or 11th, and we're fishing today, so I got some serious work to do to keep her happy. So we're gonna have some fun today and try to keep myself around fish where I got a chance to win. I got a few elite buddies that have been messaging me, man, you better win. I need 2 guys to win. So, because if I win, it goes back to one of our guys too. So everybody here deserves it, but I'd love to help one of those guys out too. So, and I could use about 40 grand. We're going to get after it.
You couldn't.
Chad hit the nail on the head, though. I think it's a matter of time before he hoists one of those big trophies above his head, whether it's on the Elites or the Opens, and it wouldn't be a surprise to me if he does it more than once in the next foreseeable future. Good angler.
One of the best smallmouth anglers. He does have a bass victory, but it's from the Opens level, which we're fishing now, and it was on his home body of water, the Lake St. Clair, Lake Erie region.
Right. Demeke crankbait came through for him. The 300.
He caught giant bags on Bassmaster Live on that down in Texas as well, but he's used it as a great northern crankbait. It's cool to see him not only be a northern smallmouth guy, but to see him do well on a body of water like this. You see the James River, the Potomac, other tidal bodies of water that are just different.
He had a great run. I talked to him. He was 49th in our Angler of the Year before our last 2 events and climbed inside the Classic Cut, gained about 10 spots. John, you don't fish the Opens. Is there a reason?
Are you calling John out right now?
No. I'm just asking him.
The last year I fished the Opens was in 2008, and I had a bad year on the Elite Series, so I needed to change something. I thought less events would work better for me. I started doing that, and then I started missile baits in 2012, and so that definitely keeps me occupied when I'm not out on the either on the promotional circuit or doing shows or doing the Elite Series. So that's what I do full time when I'm not on the road.
That's one thing that's interesting and does separate. A lot of anglers fish, and that's what they do for a living. They are a bass fisherman by trade, by career. They make their money by casting a rod and reel. but you have an interesting aspect. You've won Bassmaster Elite Series events, but throughout your career, you started Missile Baits, which is a soft plastic company in the industry. What's that been like the last few years, equipping your staff and crew to take care of business when you're out of town, but also being a hands-on owner-operator of a business while still competing?
Right, yeah, I mean, so for the first 10 years of my career as a professional angler, I'm just like the majority of these guys. They're fishing full-time, that's all I did. But I knew that the fishing portion was going to open a door for something else to me in the fishing industry. And so I started Missile Baits 10 years ago, and I wanted to create an entity. I didn't want to stop fishing the tournament, so I created an entity that could sustain itself when I was gone. I'm gone 80 to 100 days of a year. I wanted to create something that could run on its own, and so that's why I created Missile Baits, to be able to do that. And I got a great team back in Salem and in Nashville area there with my buddy Byron. He's our sales manager. But yeah, created that team that could really do everything that needed to be done while I was on the road. But then when I come home, it's checking on everything, making sure payroll is done, doing all the QuickBooks stuff on the back end, and then doing all the new product development.
That is one thing that you brought out a couple key baits that have been mainstays for not only just novice anglers that are just fishing in ponds or creeks, but also tournament-winning, tournament-capable baits. But you're always trying to innovate. And it seems like every year or two you're going to introduce something new or a new partnership aspect. And I know you've done that in the last 2 years, especially this year. And you've seen some guys. It's got to be great to see them on Championship Sunday in the Elite Series fishing the new baits, but it's also stinks because they probably beat you to get there, and so it's kind of a double-edged.
It's a win-win, brother. It is a win-win. I mean, even Kyle Patrick here down on the bottom left, they're watching right now. He was catching them on a magic worm, a drop shot, and he said he just was catching so many he ran out. So I don't know what he's resorted to. I don't know if he said he might switch over to the quiver or try something else, but.
Maybe a mini flip jig as well, things like that.
Yeah, he was catching some on a jig, he said. So yeah, I think he just needs to take a deep breath down there in the bottom left. He had been fishing around a bunch of other anglers earlier the last 2 days. Now he's kind of got this area to himself. If he'll just slow down, I think the area that can produce a really good bag, if he'll just kind of calm down, and he's still got plenty of time, gets on a little bit of a roll, and you never know what could happen.
Yeah, he said yesterday on the phone that he kind of gets ahead of himself a little bit. He was wanting to get on the troll motor to beat someone to an area because there were so many people in that region, but keeping your head on a swivel and keeping calm, especially today, there's no one else in his area. He has all the time in the world to fish that out the way he needs to. But we were mentioning guys being successful. The last Elite Series event of the season, Brian Schmidt wins it. Yeah. One of his key baits that week was a missile bait, and it was
the magic worm and the baby destroyer.
Yeah,
so I was super proud of him.
Rig.
Great, just a great guy, just a good.
One of the best tidal bodies of water anglers out there and grass fishermen. I think he's got like 15 semi-pro and pro-level victories. One of the best to get it done of all time when it comes to winning. We take a look at the beautiful upper Chesapeake Bay and our updated leaderboard. We see Pete Glusik's jump up into 4th place with that last fish that we saw from him. JT Tompkins still holding serve. I don't think 14.5 pounds is going to get him the victory today, but it's got him in the lead right now. Maybe he's got the rest of the day for one big bite to get to the weight needed to maybe take home an Opens victory and punch his ticket to the Bassmaster Classic. We'll see all that action and more when we come back. Tonight, it's baseball night in America on Fox. Ohtani and the Angels take on Altuve and the AL West leading Astros. Or the Guardians and Twins battle for the top spot in the AL Central. It all begins tonight at 7 Eastern on Fox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Man, to see Ohtani and what he's done, not only as a pitcher, but also a hitter for Major League Baseball.
Baseball's in a good spot, man.
Unbelievable.
Baseball's in a good spot. A lot of good players right now, a lot of personalities.
A lot of teams that, maybe struggled the last few years have really gotten a lot of young prospects and have jumped up to the lead. I mean, we're talking about the Guardians and the Twins battle for the top spot in the AL Central. That is just something that people might not have said just a few years ago. We take it out to Duke Nave. Kyle Austin, all of these anglers in the Northeast region. Duke Nave is one of the local anglers. He is the only one that if he wins today will not make the Bassmaster Classic. One rule, you have to fish every Open in that division to make the Classic if you win. He only is fishing this one this week.
Ike have what he had and Schmidt, And the momentum he had coming off a win at the Mississippi, I'm like, oh, he's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, talking about Schmidt here.
They were worried about him coming in.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, Deal is right down the bay. I mean,
it's on the bay.
I mean, he literally does striper guides daily.
I actually
when he's
did not get in. I was on the wait list. I registered for all 3, but didn't get in. So this is the only one I'm fishing.
Yeah, Schmidt was super upset with himself for not putting in more practice time, but he said that when he got home after that 3-week stretch, because he fished a tournament at Champlain, then went to Owyhee, then
South
he went
Dakota,
to Mississippi River there in Wisconsin. So he said he was pretty burnt and didn't put in the practice time that he needed to, and now he's regretting not putting more practice time in. I texted him back. I said, dude, that's just because you're a competitor.
Just wanted to keep it rolling, huh?
Yeah.
Success breeds success.
Yeah, all these guys are right here in the Northeast. Like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these fish are restocked occasionally every week, really, from all the local tournaments. Duke knows that. I'm sure he knows every piece of cover out here in the Northeast. A lot of good quality fish in this whole fishery. The ones that maybe are more active or not as affected by the salinity levels, those are the ones that are going to get caught and put back into the upper part of the Northeast River. Duke is focusing on those right now.
I think the shots, the boat-to-boat shots, are coming from Trey Swindle's boat as he's not fishing today. We talked about his disqualification earlier today, and an innocent, misstep of the rules, not having enough insurance to be legal for a Bassmaster tournament of this caliber. But he's out there. Looks like he's taking the cameraman out there just to see, have extra eyes on the water. So we appreciate Trey doing that, and we feel for him, a young, promising angler, the nephew to two-time Angler of the Year Gerald Swindle. He's been great. I got to hear a little bit about Trey's practice throughout the week. Just got back from Gerald's house and some features we got to shoot with him. Talked about how tough practice was, and for a lot of these anglers developed a top 10 pattern just off of 1 or 2 bites in practice, and they had to lean in on what they had, including leader Chris Boudry.
So we've made a little bit of an adjustment. I've been, for the past 2 days, thinking about coming. I've been fishing out on the outside edge of this mat and doing most of my damage out there, but shoot, just missed one.
I'm gonna stay right here.
Where's that?
Hey, you caught the cameraman.
It's all around your head.
Ever done that, John?
Not that I'm going to admit right now.
Where were you at? Right there. Yeah, so I've come in closer. I've been thinking about the whole tournament, but I just wanted to kind of save them. Got it. Little bitty one. We might have figured something out. Oh, do not fall out. I don't want to be like Jim Bitter.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Come here, buddy.
It's a slippery one.
Has to be 12 inches to be a keeper this week. It looks like it'll be a keeper.
Yeah, Jim Bitter lost the Classic is what he's referring to.
It's a little one, hopefully get rid of it, but.
That might be the one. You never know.
Gotta break the ice.
Some goal, number 1.
Yeah.
Y'all just stay live with me.
It's all positive.
Maybe I'll catch some fish.
Chris seems in very good spirits here. I know that even before that fish catch.
Very interesting. Chris said earlier he really thinks he's going to catch them from that 12 to 2 time period, and that is a time period he has not fished at all the first 2 days. He's been done.
14 inches.
Just looking for new stuff.
A pound.
His first fish coming at 9:30. They've been out there a couple hours, so don't know if he was really sweating it.
It's always good when you make an adjustment like this, though, John. You know that when you haven't fished an area, you see it, you've been not saving it, but just you haven't hit it yet, and then you go over there and you catch one pretty quick. That's always a good thing.
Definitely. You know, he's talked about the water still being high. Water's not moving a whole lot. So when that water is high, those fish will move on back, and that looks like what may have happened here.
in your face.
That was great camera work. I saw that fish blow up on the frog, and it got me excited. Like, I tried to set the hook sitting here in the chair with no rod in my hand. I tried to set the hook.
No, what I was talking about, like, it just makes more sense to come in here closer with the water being as high as it is right now. And I thought about it on Thursday and Friday also, but thankfully I was catching enough out there on the edge that I didn't have to. So I thought there was a chance that there'd be some more fish up here and have a group of fresh ones that haven't seen my bait yet. But we need one more.
Out of the 179 pros fishing this week, Chris Boudry has 2 of the 15 bags over 15 pounds. There's only been 15 bags clipsing 15 pounds. He's got 2 of them.
And I think he's got, I think he...
Second biggest.
I think he's got 2 of the 5 biggest bags because both his bags are over 16 pounds, I believe.
Yes.
But that shows you how volatile it can be. The day one leader had 18 pounds, had 1 fish yesterday. There were people who had 0, had 12 pounds yesterday and jumped up the leaderboard. Chris has been locking in a white frog. He said it doesn't matter what brand. He's been throwing numerous frogs to see if there's a difference, but white has been the key color for him. Oftentimes in these grass mats, it's just a silhouette. It is just something they can see that, you know, in their presence. It doesn't necessarily, you know, color doesn't dictate. And the top of the frog is really less essential than what's the color on the bottom of the frog. So that's one thing that is different with frogs compared to other things you pick a color for. It's probably uniform throughout, but for a frog, the bottom is seen most of the
everything
time.
that they eat in nature has got a lighter bottom and a darker top. The one thing that's odd about a frog is that the fish often don't see the top of the frog unless you're fishing it in more open water. When they're fishing mats, like you said, they're just hitting the silhouette. The white frog is definitely good for the angler because you can see whether the fish pulled the bait down or not. White frog, good choice here on the mats for sure.
He said he's also caught some fish punching these mats with a big weight and a Texas rig weedless situation, punching through that grass. But he said any fish that he has caught this week punching, he has culled out with a frog. So the 10 fish for Chris Boudry, now 11 unofficially, have all came on a frog for him this week. It is often a do or die technique. It used to be maybe 10 years ago in the Bassmaster Elite Series, if you had a frog pattern going, it would crap out on you or it would die at some point at the end of the event. Not saying that's the case today, but it does often get, it's a pressure technique. They don't bite it as good sometimes with a lot of pressure, and we will see if Chris can continue to load the boat with a frog as Kyle Austin, Trevor McKinney, Chad Pipkins, and the rest of the top 10 continue to try to chase him down. I'm not quite sure Chris Boudry will be back on the top of our leaderboard with that small fish, a pound, maybe a pound and a half tops for him, but that is one in the right direction. That'll move him up within a 2 or 3 pound of the lead. 2 or 3 pounds of the lead is a lot closer than he was 10 minutes ago. So Chris Boudry, our day 2 leader, staying tough in second place. First fish in the boat for him right now. JT Tompkins still holding serve, 37 pounds, 0 ounces unofficially, our top spot. We'll be right back at the Upper Chesapeake Bay and Bassmaster Live in just a few moments.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. It's sponsored by
Minn Kota, Power Pole, Skeeter Boats, and by Rapala.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay, the St. Croix Bassmaster Open, Cecil County, Maryland, Northeast Maryland, and it's the final day. We have whittled it down from over 180 anglers competing to make the top 10. Just 10 anglers survived and compete on Championship Saturday. Everyone wants to make the Classic. That is a top echelon, the Super Bowl of bass fishing, the biggest prize in fishing, and a place that you want to be. And we have seen this man, our guest, special guest co-host today, John Cruz. We've seen you compete in 13 Classics. You've had a shot in a couple of these cold water Classics to get it done.
Absolutely. This is what you work all year for, is trying to make the Classic, trying to put something together to make a run at it, catch one of these big old giants like I did here at Guntersville a couple years back. On the final day, you catch one almost 7 pounds. You can't describe the emotions and the adrenaline that runs through you when that happens, and then you pull into the arena, with thousands of people there, and you get to see your family. You get to pull out these giant bass that you catch and try to make a run at it. There's no feeling in fishing like the Classic. It's unbelievable.
And within the Bass tournament organization, there's so many different levels and ways to get there. You could be like Trevor Mckinney and win the College Classic bracket to make the Classic. You can do it from winning an Open like we've seen Chad Pipkins before in the past. You can do it from qualifying via Elite Series points like Chad did this year and like all the anglers do through the 9-event season. So you can do it through the Bass Nation, the team championship. Every level in Bass has a shot.
We need some live action. I'm out here on the edge that suckered me into grass fishing. It's worked out okay though. Just have not caught one here. So I had one pull my worm off this morning, that was it. But I'm gonna get back up right to that shallow ditch. I can probably see a little bit better now. We're just gonna fish the bottom half of it. It's a little cleaner there, so I'm gonna wait until the sun gets right and the water comes down a little, hopefully about noon, and try to get on that upper part and pick some of those holes apart. But I'd love to catch, 1 or 2 in the next 2 hours. I think I'd be in good shape. But we'll see what happens. Just torn between fishing the grass and going to hit some hard spots and specific stuff in the Northeast. But I feel like the right fish are out here to catch a big bag. So we're going to try to stick this out and see if we can make something happen. Because we are due. Overdue. I think we're sliding back in right now. I'm giving up on the edge bass. They've been a wee bit stingy. I'll find the ones that want to cooperate. This place has got so many fish, they get in a funk and you'll watch them swim by, saying no thank you.
Chad Pipkins has a special area that he knows that all the way at the far end of it, the ditch kind of comes up to a heading and a point. And he saw some people catch some fish near him yesterday. They clued him in that, hey, it's not this whole deal. It is right on that edge where I've caught him before. That's the only place they're going to live. So as he works his way up there, we take a look at our top 4 currently. JT Tompkins, our new unofficial leader throughout this final day. Bottom right of your screen, you have Chris Boudry, our day 2 leader. He's in second, top left. Trevor Mckinney, bottom left. And Pete Glusik, top right.
Extremely slow to get bit, and they'd bite it every single time on the paws. I think that's probably some of the difference of why I've caught them throughout the tournament and other guys haven't, because I typically don't even work it that slow. But I think, I don't know if it's just a weird tide right now. That's why I'm not catching them, or I may be a little jazzed up and working it a little bit too fast. But I'm going to try to be mindful of it and slow down, and we still got a lot of time left. And I think the last half of the day is probably going to be best, but I'd like to catch a few in between then.
Boudry's talking about how he's working that frog. When you're in contention, you should win the tournament. Sometimes your mental aspect, you take a little breather of actually what you're doing, and you're so amped up, you fish baits too fast. The fish don't want it fast. That's what he was just talking about. So he's mindful of that. Like I said earlier, he seems like he's in a good spot mentally. I think that he will slow down. He's going to get some more action before it's done.
I heard all the shad in there, and that's what tuned me in to start fishing this way. So it's that white frog's just imitating a shad that accidentally got up on top of the grass. Typically, I run all eye rods, and typically I throw it on a 7'4" medium heavy, and the grass is so thick, and some of the fish I was getting bit far up in the mat, so I was having trouble getting them out a little bit, so I bumped it up to a 7'7" heavy action rod, and since I did that, I made that change yesterday, and every fish I've hooked, I've been able to pull out very easily. Or I say easily, I mean, I bring 10 pounds of grass with them normally, but it's got the job done. I've only had one fish out of the 2.5 days of fishing that I hooked, and it come unbuttoned, unhooked, but.
Boudry's talking about catching the fish under these mats, like he said. You get all this grass and the whole salad along with the fish. You need a powerful rod when you're making really long casts. You're using braided lines, so you're not going to have any stretch in your line, but you're making those long casts, and then you have to just put the total wood to them. You need a rod with a lot of power to drive that hook in, and then to be able to pull the fish through all the grass without letting them shake loose.
Gives you that leverage. Unlike any other sport, I mean, you could hit the right shot with the wrong club in golf, or you can be on the winning area of fish and not have the right equipment, and you end up losing fish, or you can't execute, and that's what Chris talked about, the adjustment. Normal frog and rod, not the case this week for thick matted vegetation up in the Susquehanna River.
Like, you know, it's hard to see. We're talking about the 2nd, 9th, 5th, 10th place right currently in the standings. This is an incomplete picture. It's really hard to get a gauge on who's going to really make a run at this thing, because not everybody has a limit. We know not everybody is going to catch a limit, but as these guys start filling out their limits, this leaderboard's really going to shift around. Boudry's at the top. Everybody's shooting for him. You know, JT Tompkins with his early limit, but Boudry only has one, so it's an incomplete picture of the way the day could end. It could end just like this, but we know these guys are good. We know the place has got a lot of fish. We know we got some more fish catches in store here before too long. I'm almost surprised. We've gone through a little lull. It seems like the last half an hour or so. I expect as this tide starts moving, these guys are going to start to
like Pete Glusik,
put some little action.
Make some adjustments and some moves. But that's the thing. You can get those 5 bites, Such. Like if Chris Boudry gets 5 bites a day, you can get those 5 bites and they're all the same size as the one he caught. Or you can catch all 3-pounders like JT Tompkins and be up over 14 pounds and have a shot to win. You know, it's one or the other.
So I was going to ask John that, you know, Boudry comes in here with a 7-pound lead over the closest guy. Does he have that mental target weight in his head that I just need probably 9 pounds to seal the deal?
Well, everybody's wired a little bit different, and I think everybody has different expectations on what that is. Boudry seems like he's in a good spot. I think he knows what he needs. I think he knows if he can put a limit in the boat, and he talked about that earlier, if I can just get a limit in the boat and then I can kind of lay back or you know, relax a little bit and then try some different techniques. I think he's going to try to ride the horse that has got him to this position. He's sticking with that frog. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen him pick up that punching rod and try to punch up a few, even though they're smaller. Maybe that's going to be enough, but I think he just feels like he's fishing newer water, still trying to slow down, pick up the cadence that's going to trigger those fish to bite, and he's still got plenty of time left. I mean, we're not even halfway through the day for these guys, and he seems to be comfortable and just still kind of exploring what's going to take to get those fish to eat that frog.
He emphasized yesterday that he gets to fish all day today. The last few days he's been finished at noon because he doesn't want to put any more pressure on this area. And so he's been done. He's going to get to fish all day long today, and it looks like he may need it. I remember last night he confidently said, it wasn't cocky, I said, are you excited for tomorrow? And he said, hopefully, buddy, by 9:30 tomorrow I have my 5 fish and we can go get some pizza and we can seal this deal or something like that. So Chris Boudry expected a quick start. That has not been the case, but that is why it's fishing and not catching. He is now 2nd place chasing. He was the one pursued. Now he is the pursuer on Championship Saturday. $42,000 for the winner up for grabs. An opportunity to go to the Bassmaster Classic, which has a $300,000 prize there. Any one of these anglers that makes the Classic, if they were to win it, it, they would punch a ticket to the Elite Series as well, a dream come true in many facets for these anglers. JT Tompkins, 20 years old, been at it since high school at the semi-pro level. He is on top right now, followed by Chris Boudry, a former college champion, Trevor McKinney, a veteran of the sport, Pete Glusik, a variety of anglers all competing on the Upper Chesapeake this week.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Maryland is the site of the final Bassmaster Northern Open this week, the Upper Chesapeake Bay. This concludes a 3-tournament series, a semi-pro level of events, anglers qualifying for the Classic and for the Bassmaster Elite Series from this tournament trail as we take it out to the Northeast region, not far from takeoff, out in the middle of the bay, the Northeast River. Kyle Austin from South Carolina, Santee Cooper Lakes. That's his home lake. That's where he guides. That's where he fishes. And that's where we will be for the Bassmaster Elite Series for the 4th stop of the season next year.
Big.
Ooh. Ooh. That's a difference maker in this event right here.
That's ones we're looking for today right there. 4 more of those, we'll make a run at it.
He is correct.
Finally. It's been a while.
I love when the mic's close and you can hear him breathing heavy. That just tells you how high his heart rate is.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's
people think they're out of shape, but a lot of these guys are fit. They just get excited. It's emotional. It's heart-wrenching, like you said.
Oh, my gosh.
It's an important, that's a difference maker.
We heard you this year, John.
Yes.
We'll put him on the big side.
Always good when you deem one of your live well sides as the big side.
Quote unquote the big side. Yes, I like it. Yeah, he was just soaking that worm out there. Hopefully he'll tell us a little bit more how he caught that one.
I don't know. I just got the wrench and I didn't tell him to take no chances. It honestly scared me. I was reeling it up and he went, thoop. Huh? Yeah. That'd be number 5. Got 10 pounds even on my scale, so that's fine. Might be a little low balling. That thing got me the jitters over here. Y'all see me shaking? Phew.
Whether he has 9.4 or it's 10 pounds,
that's the deepest one I've caught all week.
Difference. Still has him in 3rd place now.
That's 8 foot out here.
He said 8 foot of water, throwing that soft plastic Texas rig. He's fishing it really slow, and then he said he was just kind of soaking it, and then he went to reel it in, move the bait, and then he felt that fish thump. So my guess is that fish was probably watching it the whole time. When he went to move it, that was the trigger that made that fish bite, and that's what we saw him put the wood to that fish. He knew as soon as he set the hook, he said, big one. And that's like the best words that a tournament angler can utter out of their mouth after they set the hook is big one.
And not 10 seconds later, well, it's not that big.
I beg to differ. I thought that was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that was close.
No, you don't want to hear that. 10 seconds later.
Right. Yeah. Oh, right.
You've heard that so many times. Big one, big one, big one. Oh, it's not as big as I thought.
Yeah, we've all done that because we want them to be a big one so bad.
Oh, yeah. And the way they bite it. That's some of the subtlest bites come from the biggest fish. But when they pound, when you're dragging a soft plastic on the bottom slowly and one thumps it, you're like, that was an aggressive bite. Yeah. Maybe it's a big one. There's a hope as we take a run up the lake, up the Susquehanna River to Pete Glusik, going farther up the Susky that we've seen anyone go up today.
Yeah, he's up there to that last marina before it kind of gets real shallow. And with that higher water, I guess he's figuring he can go up and hit some of this hard cover. A lot of times these outer walls, like Pete's fishing right here, when the tide's running hard, you can't hardly fish them, or you can't fish them effectively because the water's running so hard. Here, with the tide running slower, you can fish some of this outer stuff and catch some of these fish that are on the opportunistic feeder type positions. That's what looks like what Pete's doing. That's what he was doing closer down towards the mouth. And I'm sure Pete's caught him a few fish off these off the seawall here before.
Austin was our second limit, and his fish was way over the average the first 2 days. Day one, we had 44 limits. Average fish was 2.2 pounds. Same thing on day two. We had 10 less limits.
You're live.
Pete's never at a loss for words. He's just focusing on catching them.
Yeah, focused on staying in the boat, focused on catching them. There's a lot of different things.
Focused on his pants drying out.
Exactly. This is one good structure that anglers can fish all times of day. When high tide is there, they can't, that's a brick wall, you know, that is a seawall, but it is a hard piece of cover they cannot get past. So even if the water rises or falls, they can still stay right there on that cover. Whereas we see grass mats, we see reeds, we see shoreline cover, and oftentimes on high tide, it will go past that cover and they can just swim away from you. You can't reach them.
Smallmouth. I had another one swimming off. I set and I come back with just the hook. So I got a couple more bites, which is good. But what I noticed is the tide's starting to move. It's starting to go out, and that's awesome. You can usually tell it by I'm looking at these walls, and you see the wet spot on the wall as the water starts to fall. It stays wet, lets you know that that water's falling. Even, you know, without looking at a tide chart, you can see it. Getting a little current, which is good. So that's all encouraging stuff. Let's see if, you know, I'm just going to keep hitting the milk run, just keep grinding, just burn as much fuel, hit as many places, make as many stops as I can. Just keep getting bites. Keep getting bites.
And we apologize for that audio. Pete sounds like he's in a porta-john because his microphone is roasted when he took a dive earlier. So we're running off the microphone from the camera, and that's why you can hear the cameraman a lot better. It's off of his mic.
My goal is I figure I need a big bag, and you know I'm 6 pounds behind, so you know, coming out of the gate thinking I need. You know, I need to be sniffing that 20-pound mark to give myself a chance. 20 pounds is normally easy to come by. Not easy, but it's readily available here on this body of water. There's a lot of 4 and 5 pound fish all over. This September's tricky. It's really hard to get your weight up that high, but that's what I feel like I need to do today. Is I need to get up between that 15 to 20 pound zone. And hope I have enough to, you know, overtake the lead. He's had 2 amazing days in a row, incredibly consistent. It's really hard to do right now. Can he do it 3 days in a row? I don't know. But right now I've just got, I don't know, 3.5 pounds in the boat. I've got a long way to go myself. But this is the tide. This is the period of time when things I've gotten opportunities for bigger bites. I've seen several 4-pounders. I had one yesterday. I had 2 the day before. You know, I'm really going to need to put together 3 or 4 of those bigger fish to really have a shot at this thing. Is what I think is going to happen. Really don't know. It's just anything could happen in September. It's so tough. You know, even our first place guy on day 1 went out and had a tremendously tough day 2. And that could happen to me. It could happen to anybody in the top 10. So realistically, I'm not thinking about weight. I'm thinking about bites. I just had 2. I've already caught 2. I've had 4 bites today. I'm trying to get my bite count up to about 15 today. I feel if I can do that, if I can get up to about 15 bites today, there will be a few big fish in there. And maybe I can get those 3, 4, even 5 quality fish that I need today. So that's my goal, 15 bites. And staying in the boat. That's my other goal for today.
Pete dropping some knowledge on us.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's exactly what you have to do as a tournament angler. You have to kind of break it down into little bites and kind of dissect it of how your day is going. That was a good little snippet right there.
It's kind of like when they say fishing is luck. No, it's when opportunity meets preparation, then you can have that. He doesn't have to worry about the size of the fish, but the more fish that he can catch, the odds are you're going to run into a couple good ones. And Pete Glusik sitting there in the top 5 in still a great position. He doesn't know that it's been a struggle for Chris Boudry, and he is the closest pursuer coming out of the gate today. We'll be right back. The Upper Chesapeake. Tonight, it's baseball night in America on Fox. Ohtani and the Angels take on Altuve and the AL West leading Astros. Or the Guardians and Twins battle for the top spot in the AL Central. It all begins tonight at 7 Eastern on Fox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. We see a couple anglers have left the Northeast region and are fishing farther away, Dundee Creek, Gunpowder Creek, for a couple of the anglers down there. But a lot of our fishermen are in the Northeast region of this Upper Chesapeake, a few in the Susquehanna River, and that is where our Day 2 leader, Chris Boudry, who has had a slow start to his day. He's been done. His weight has been caught the last few days at this time of the day.
That's a big one.
Trying to build him still.
Uh-oh.
Got her. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. Get in this boat. Get in this boat. It ain't as big as I thought it was, but it's...
Hey, what'd I tell you? Don't say anything.
Oh, I thought it was bigger than that, but...
Okay.
One more. It's like a 2-pounder.
Take it, man.
Yeah.
Take it.
2 and change.
For sure.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
A 2 and change, you say just a 2 and change.
It's like
that is
two,
a fish
maybe.
that will probably put him in the unofficial lead because it's going to be just within ounces.
God.
And you see that fish blow up on it and miss it the first time, and he did not set the hook, was patient, and John, that fish ended up coming back for it. No doubt the same fish, in your opinion?
Absolutely, yeah. When they get, sometimes when they get it in their mind that they're going to get that bait, the best thing you can do is leave it there for them to just sit there and look at if they don't get it. And that's exactly what Chris did. That was a veteran frog type move. He saw that fish kind of boil on it initially.
I didn't tell anybody about it.
And here we go. He's going to tell us what he's doing, I think.
Well, we got 2 in the box right now. 2 little ones, but just catching a limit today is going to be huge. But I think if I get 5, I'll have at least a few of the right bites. Right now I'm fishing a lot closer in on the mat than what I have been during the tournament. I kind of saved it for today. I don't know if they're truly up here or not, but we got us one out of there anyways.
JT Tompkins has 14.5 pounds on the day, made up his 11-pound, 6-ounce deficit to Boudry. Boudry just caught his second fish. It's about 3 pounds, but I think it's a little bit more than that, and Bass Track has him 2 ounces back of Tompkins still.
It's a lot.
I hope when out there it's going to be fun.
It's a lot harder to be accurate with someone like Tompkins, who has 5 fish. There's a little bit of skew on each of those probably. Even if you weigh them, you'll still be a couple ounces off each of them. 5 fish, whereas Chris, we kind of know he's got a pound and change and a 2 and change, but still 2 fish that could get him back in the lead.
Yeah, you're gonna have to watch the weigh-in on Bassmaster.com for sure to see at this point, unless Boudry just really pours it on here as the afternoon goes.
Last time we were here at the Chesapeake Bay, we saw the 2 biggest bags of the tournament on the final day. by the first and second place anglers. It ended up, one of them set the record for the biggest bag of the week, and then the next guy to weigh in broke it and took the victory. And so we know that fireworks can happen, and JT Tompkins is on his way. Trevor Mckinney, we mentioned it, from McKendree University, just graduated from college. He is our 2020 College Classic Bracket champion, fished the 2021 Classic, and has had a great open season so far. Oh, with it. Blow up on a frog himself.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Got going on a frog. First one I caught on a frog since I've been there. Number 4. Got 4 now. A little 2-pounder probably. Need another one. Yes.
Good fish for Trevor McKinney, and an adjustment. We just saw him put down his flipping bait, picked up a frog.
Had to
Next
switch
cast
it up a little
catches
bit.
one.
Haven't thrown a frog since I got here. I just figured I'd make a few casts with it. I got one. Hopefully we can get another one, have 5. It'll be a good deal.
People will say that's luck or that he picked it up at that time, but there's something instinctually for an angler when they see a piece of cover or something a little different, they maybe see a fish react differently, triggers your mind to do something and then make an adjustment, and it pays off quick for him.
Yeah, and it sounds like Trevor's been fishing the same stretch of water most of the week. Wanted to give him a little different look.
Yeah.
Figured the frog might be a good way to trigger one. And his instincts were correct.
Did you get it? Sweet. You're the man.
Trevor McKinney would love to keep his Central Opens going. He's fishing the Northern Opens this week, but started off with a top 10 in the Central Opens, 2 events left there. And that is the path that he is on to try to make the Bassmaster Elite Series. Every single year from the Opens, we will have 3, 4, 5, 6 anglers make a splash on the Bassmaster Elite Series, and our 3 qualifiers, we'll call them the Big 3 this week, got it done in the Northern Opens points race. Alex Weatherall, our AOY champion for the Northern Opens. You have Kioya Fujita, second place in our points race, and Keith Poche, former Elite Series pro, made a business decision in his career and has now came back through the Opens to qualify. The top 3 will now compete against you, John, on the Elite Series next year.
That's right. Kioya is supposed to be just a phenomenal angler. I know some people that have worked with him, and he seems to be very, very knowledgeable, very good on camera, and it's going to be fun competing against him as well. But Keith Poche, Keith's back. Keith's a very good fisherman. Almost won the James River Open earlier this year. And speaking of earlier this year.
Yeah, somebody else who got a victory. This was starting off our Bassmaster Elite Series season, Palatka, Florida, the St. Johns River. And that is you, John Cruz. A great track record at the St. Johns River, and you were able to put it all together despite the tough conditions, especially on day 3, and win your second Bassmaster Elite Series title.
That's right. Yeah, that tidal fishery it's a special place historically in bass fishing, and it's definitely a special place for me. I've got a win there earlier this year. I got a second a couple years back, 5th place back when Clun won. It's a fun, cool place to fish. I've fished mostly different areas every time.
Yeah.
The crowds come out in big fashion there. It's definitely a place that understands bass fishing and has had a long history of bass fishing. I'm almost disappointed we're not going back this year, but we need to give it a break. Yeah, it was.
That smile says it all. What does it mean? Obviously, an angler that wins an Open today accomplishes a Classic goal. A lot of these guys haven't fished in the Classic. They get that opportunity to qualify for the Super Bowl of bass fishing, but also they win $42,000. That is huge for this level to be able to move up and afford the next level. For you to win $100,000 after all these years, it's got to be huge for you.
It was. That trophy means everything to me. I mean, you spend so many hundreds of hours preparing and practicing and learning, and then when it all pays off like it did at the St. John's, it's an emotional experience. I can't even describe it. I mean, the hairs on my arms stood up when I was watching that just now.
Your second elite win, that you join a group of about a dozen with 2 elite victories. There's only like 14 guys on the active list who have more than 2 B.A.S.S. wins.
Yeah, that's my next goal, hoist another one of those blue trophies. And it's what I said earlier when I won the first one back in 2010. Now I know I can win one. I just need to try to do it. I didn't know it was going to take me another 12 years to do it. But now that I have one, I'm like, well, I know, I see, and I've experienced how it can happen. You do have to have things go your way, but you have to make good adjustments. It's a 4-day event to win an Elite Series event, and you have to make good adjustments along the way. These guys are experiencing the 3-day event. You can see some of the guys starting to make adjustments. Those are the guys that are shining today.
It's a game changer, no doubt, for a career, but you kind of showed the way that you can win an event and go 12 years without winning one and still have a successful career all in between. It's not all about the wins. It's about that consistency. We're going to see if JT Tompkins can maybe hold out for the win, or Chris Boudry pulls something out of his hat late today and makes it a memorable championship Saturday at the Upper Chesapeake. The Day 2 leader tries to regain his lead. We'll be right back. The race has gotten much tighter.
Look at the size of that bass!
You're watching a Fox Sports presentation of B.A.S.S.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. The St. Croix Bassmaster opens. This is the proving grounds. This is the level, the semi-pro level, to make it to the Bassmaster Elite Series and to the Bassmaster Classic. And this is the final stop of the Northern Opens division. Even though the qualification standards may change for next year, where you have to fish all of them to make the Elite Series, you can still fish a single division and still have the Classic up for grabs, still have the prize money from these events. Kind of use it as your proving grounds before you step up and fish all 9 of them. And we're getting a look at the best semi-pro anglers in the world, especially this week out at the Upper Chesapeake. And this was your Day 2 leader, Chris Boudry, had a 6 to 7 pound lead. That is enormous after 2 days of competition.
Pete Glusik fell in something that looked like that. That'd been a little harder to get back in the boat.
He heard about Pete's tumble.
He might have heard the splash. I don't know where he was.
Well, he's fishing in the same vicinity.
He passed him and heard it. Saw him.
Pete's pants look real wet. He might have taken a dive.
Yeah. Boudry's just gonna. It looks like he's gonna live and die in that big mat there in the Susquehanna.
And looking at the 4-box here, we're seeing JT Tompkins and Chad Pipkins fish at the bottom of your screen. JT's been at the Northeast River. Chad Pipkins kind of been mid-region of the Northeast area, right between Susquehanna and Takeoff. And then we have 2 guys at the top, one fishing a walking frog on a grass mat, and then one fishing, just adjusted he's been flipping the reeds, and now he decided with the shade line to pick up a frog and try it, but it's a different kind of frog, different situation.
Exactly. He's throwing a popping frog, and the popping frog is a lot better in that open water, which you see Trevor fishing down up there in the top right.
3.5 hours of fishing time left.
Boudry fishing the matted grass, which it's a little bit better for the traditional frog without the popping mouth on it.
Yeah, and if you don't know what the difference in a walking frog and a popping frog is, the walking frog has a pointed nose, but the popping frog has a cupped mouth, which helps you throw water, get attraction while you're working that bait.
That's right. Yeah, the one on the left, like Boudry's throwing, that's the one. That's the original. That's like what Bobby Barrack back in the day put on the map, and then Dean Rojas with the Spro frog really kind of transcended into like mainstream. All bass fishing. If fishermen are throwing this,
I don't hear any bait fish over on that side.
The popping frog is more recent, I'd say, in the last 12 to 15 years, 10 years really,
We're
probably.
Have to work really hard to get it through that mat. That thing's thick.
He's talking about the mats up there. What you're seeing Boudry fish, a lot of the local anglers call it cheese. The cheese gets on the top, and that's exactly what it looks like. There gets to be a moss on top of the grass, and then we see JT Tompkins down there on the bottom right, putting another fish in the boat. He's already got a good limit in the boat. We're going to see if that's going to help him call.
It looks like it will. JT making a big move today, going from 9th, 11 pounds back, you said, Such, and now in our unofficial lead. And that's a good 3-pounder all day.
He's going to put the scale on it.
We'll get some word.
Fish is still feisty.
Snaps you around so much. 2, 3. 3-pounder. That's a good one. Is it 3? All right, I'm a tag you, even though I don't need to. because I don't think I can cull you out.
It's a good problem if he's having to cull out a 3-pounder today. That is, he's going to make a cull now. John, I can't catch him as good as you guys, but I can spot him when we see him. That was a solid 3-pounder, and that is a huge.
What? You don't have a tag?
It's way above the average size fish this week, and
Like
it's
a
going to
nice,
be a
long,
difference
healthy
maker.
fish, Ronnie.
He's working on one of those. He's working on one of those come from behind bags, is what it looks like. He's digging in that live well, trying to find his smallest bass. You know, we're allowed to keep 5 bass per day. Those clips that he put on the lower jaw of those fish are able to identify one bass from the other. That's what he's doing now. He's trying to sort through his fish to make sure he finds the smallest one. I think if you've not fished tournaments very long, you can see how easy it would be to throw the wrong fish back.
Yep.
So he's just double checking to make sure everybody has their system on how they keep track of their fish. I have my system. I've used it over the years. And he's got 2 fish that he's identified as potentially the 2 smallest. Looks like he's going to weigh both of those and see what his scales tell him is the smallest one. Then he's going to release the smallest one and try to keep that biggest 5 fish.
And it's not only important for bass tournaments to do 5 fish limit, it's important to not fish after you catch your 6th, because you will incur a 2-pound penalty. If you continue to fish and have 6 fish in the boat, you're occupying more than what the legal limit would be. We have to put a penalty on that, and it's 2 pounds, and you have to make that cull. So JT culling before resuming fishing, something that not many people are doing today because they have not gotten their 5 fish limit, but he is on a roll this morning.
Yeah, Kyle Austin is the only other one with 5 fish.
So,
John, how do you do it? How do you cull your fish? Do you have a color system or weigh them?
I clip every fish, no matter what, and depending on how many fish I'm catching, I have a couple different techniques. It'd take a few minutes to explain, but look at Boudry right here. He's in the middle of this mat. It looks like he is right in the middle of the Cheesemaster, but this grass that he's fishing, it's probably a combination of eelgrass, stargrass, could be some milfoil. I know up in the Susquehanna, traditionally, these mats right up here are mostly milfoil. In this area, milfoil is it's an invasive grass, but it is a great grass for bass fishing up here in the Susquehanna. It mats out, and then it gets this cheese on the top. That's what makes those, the frogs will bust, the bass will bust through those mats to get those frogs. That's what we've seen from Boudry already this morning. That's what's been working for him the last 2 days.
And you can see those lines in there, and that's where the frog comes through, carves out a little line. And so it's often encouraging when you pull up to a grass mat and you don't see lines in it. You don't see a blowhole. You know it hasn't been fished yet and it's fresh. There's the opportunity. He mentioned it, that there's part of this mat that might be too thick to frog where it's not even making an indentation. So the fish below can't see it, don't know it's there.
The biggest key to it I saw was that you have the mat and then there's separation underneath it. There's about a 2-foot gap before the next set of vegetation starts. And I think they're just sitting right underneath the mat, and it's a little bit different. All the rest of them I had seen around the lake, most of them were just solid grass all the way through. This one's got a big void underneath all of it, which is what you want for frogging.
He's made that adjustment to punching like we were talking about just a few minutes ago. He's trying to get a few more bites to get those fish in the boat.
You don't have to beat the world when you make an adjustment like that, but catching one key fish could be the one. Like, it just gets you, it bridges the gap to the next fish. That's why even though he only has 2, every time he catches one, he says one more, just as long until you get to 5. That's the next goal, is catch the next fish.
I'm trying to not let it go all the way to the bottom.
We're talking about punching through this mat.
Between those 2 sets of grass in there.
He's got a big weight, probably 1.5 ounces, roughly. And then he's got a creature bait behind it, braided line, long, heavy action rod. He's going to be pitching down through that grass mat and trying to get to those fish under there. It's like Trevor Mckinney has called him a mystery fish.
Not a snakehead?
I believe it's a small snakehead. These are also invasive fish.
They will be about as aggressive as any species I've seen when they bite your bait.
It's gone wild on the back of his boat.
They have teeth. You do not.
These things are unbelievably hardy. I mean, you can't hardly dispose of them. He needs a spatula to get that thing off the back of his
when I
boat.
get home and
So they can
see all
crawl
kinds
over
of fish
land to a
swimming
different body of water, right?
They absolutely can.
Nasty invasive.
And from what I hear, they can crawl into a skillet and make a nice meal as well.
JT Tompkins gained a pound with that fish. He's up to 15.5 on the day, 38 even.
15.5, that means he has broken that 15-pound mark, which means he's in one of the top 15 bags, top 10 bags of the week right now. And that's the one thing. If every single person in this top 10 has had a tough day, other than Chris Boudry, this might be his tough day. But looking at the standings overall, I mean, you got 17 and 16 pounds for Boudry, but everyone who's had 15 at some point this day has also had a day with 10 or 11 pounds. Then there are guys with 15 that have had a day with less than a limit, had 3 or 4 fish. So then you get down to the guy like JT Tompkins, who has had 2 consistent days, 11 pounds each day.
This thing ain't over yet.
Uptick.
This thing ain't over yet, Ronnie.
We have a lot more fishing left to go. It's only 10:30 Eastern time where they are. They've been fishing for 4 hours. That means they have 4 more to go. JT Tompkins halfway through the day. Your unofficial leader, Chris Boudry, gaining momentum. Trevor Mckinney right there along with him. The top 5 are all in it at the Upper Chesapeake Bay right now on Bassmaster Live. Start Saturday strong with America's #1 game window. Big noon Saturday. Legendary powerhouses collide as Bryce Young and the top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide take on the Texas Longhorns today at noon Eastern on Fox. That's going to be an interesting one. All eyes are on that. I know Texas Longhorns have not been on the highest of highs the last few years, but they have encouragement with new coach, obviously turning the program around possibly in the right way. Quinn Ewers, the new quarterback with the $1 million mullet, as a lot of NIL people are saying, he's hoping to maybe make
that's a beast
win.
of a defense to start against.
Yeah.
I mean, just NFL guys all over the place.
If you just put Will Anderson on defense and took 10 other players off, I would be worried about getting past him.
It's fallen. It's just now getting really what I would consider right. Most of these fish ought to be pulling to the edge of this stuff. And I just caught one on a frog, 2-pounder or so. Haven't caught one on a frog all week, but it just felt right. The tide pulling out of this stuff, the fish are pulling out to the edge of it, and I picked it up, made a few casts, caught one on it. So I don't know. I'm going to continue to flip some of this stuff. I caught, I don't know, 10 or 12 keepers yesterday down this one bank flipping when the tide was like this. So I'm going to keep on flipping away. Using a Shimano Chronarch 8 1-to-1 reel, gear ratio reel, and I feel like that's really important when you're flipping, making short pitches like this. I feel like it's super important because I mean, as soon as I hook the fish, I'm swinging it in the boat. I can catch up to it quick. Same thing with a frog, and then pair it with a G-Loomis rod. But just making short pitches into this stuff and trying to get a bite. I mean, the fish are here. I know the fish are here. I just got to get one more to bite. And if I can leave this creek with a limit and get back up towards the ramp with a limit, I'll feel really good about it because I've caught a nice fish up by the ramp every day right before I come in. So I'm really just looking for one more fish. I prefer it to be a nice one out of here, and before this tide gets too low, because once it gets too low, I haven't been catching anything. I'd say in another hour it'll be low enough where I won't be able to get many bites doing this. So I like to get one more before it gets to that point out of here, and I'll be looking good. So I think I'll get one if I just keep on fishing.
Trevor Mckinney, top left of your screen, currently in 3rd place on our Bass Track unofficial live leaderboard. Trevor, just what a fantastic young angler. We talk about JT Tompkins is 20. Trevor McKinney's around 23, 24 at most, and he is a high school All-American, one of the most decorated high school anglers of all time, winning multiple events. Fishes in the state of Illinois, and he said he loves Ross Barnett, and he loves the Upper Chesapeake. His 2 places he got top 10s because it fishes like home. Tough, shallow, hand-to-hand combat. We've seen him win the college bracket and go to the Classic. Trevor McKinney is going to be one we hear about for a long time.
McKinney was talking about going back towards the ramp. Speaking of the ramp, here's Kyle Austin.
That's a giant.
Oh, big one, he says.
It's not a catfish. It's a bass. It's a big one. Feels like a damn cat. Oh, it's a bass. It's a bass. Come here, baby. Give me some of that. Let's freaking go.
Just got interesting.
Look at that. It's barely freaking hooked.
Gonna show us that secret color.
We got another big one, boys. Give me some of that.
Missed that one.
You definitely missed that one. Ah, that one's gonna help. Let's get rid of that 1 pounder.
Wow. Probably gotta be at least a 3-pound
We're
cold.
gonna work on a bag on him again.
Shoulder.
He's got some shoulders. That's a freaking big one. Let's get rid of that 1 pounder. 3.9. Going out of 1 even.
2.5-pound coal.
About the same weight I had at this time yesterday. Give me some. We'll put him on the.
What he deemed. Oh, he didn't put him on the big side.
Sometimes the big side turns into the small side. Once you start culling,
Yeah.
the big side can start on one side and then it actually transitions to the other side as you cull
like that,
through.
though. When you
oh my God, that's
you
the
have
best.
more bigs than littles, yeah. That's 2 good fish for Kyle Austin. 2 good fish for him, and that's why he has the second biggest limit of the day, the second biggest weight. Look at that cull right there. That is exactly what you want. The art of culling, now he's back down to 5 fish, can resume fishing. 2.5-pound upgrade puts him in second place, or up close to second place. I believe it'll put him in 3rd place.
Luckily, that fish came up and volunteered to come into his boat and didn't jump right there.
The first fish we've seen on a crankbait today, we've seen frogs, we've seen soft plastics, we've seen some chatterbaits, but he had mentioned, I'm gonna throw a square bill, I'm gonna throw a crankbait at some point, and saw a little bit of that red, a little bit of yellow in that crawfish pattern.
It looked like a spring crawl type color.
Yeah.
Is what it looked like. That, and like as we mentioned earlier, that color gets good later in the year once the water cools off, but a little early for that.
So I'd say the last 45 minutes or so, the 2 other boats that were out here, they kind of left and kind of opened the door where I could get out here and fish where I wanted to fish. Pretty much just running around, just fishing a bunch of these little hard spots out here. Nothing crazy. I could see the fish down there on front-facing sonar. They're just not willing to bite, a lot of them. But we just caught a big one on a worm and another big one on a square bill, and we're looking good so far. We got about 12.5 pounds. Got our work cut out, but I like the direction we're going. This was actually a lot better than what I had yesterday at this time. But we're gonna need this crankbait back because this is all we got.
You can pull a Pete move and just swim down there and grab it.
Yeah, involuntary.
He needs a plug knocker is what he needs.
Yeah, going into today, I knew, we're gonna need a big bag to catch the leader and everything, so I'm just putting myself in places where I've caught some big ones, and we're gonna try to catch a big old mega bag of them today. The first thing we're gonna do is get this crankbait back. I'm going in.
It might be a South Carolina thing, it might be a Santee Cooper Lakes thing, but Kyle Austin reminds me of Patrick Walters in the way what he's wearing. His shorts are a little shorter than other guys, He's kind of laying down there. We saw Patrick Walters trying to get
short, though.
No one can get that short. Not in this new generation, but maybe some of the old school guys can. We saw Walters in the timber of Lake Fork having to lay down and get a bait unstuck, and I just resembled his next door neighbor, running mate.
So what happens when you change hooks, you can't pop them off because they're strong. If it was a stock hook, look at this.
He said it's a square bill, but that thing looks like it's every bit of 5 or 6 feet deep. I don't know exactly which one he's throwing, but it's getting on down there, and I don't know what size line. He didn't mention that to this point.
She's stuck on fishing line.
But that is like the worst thing that you can say.
That's all she wrote for a good crankbait.
But you best turn around, 'cause sometimes they'll float up.
You get out here with a Sharpie, start painting stuff.
Yeah, his bait was hung on broken off fishing line. And sometimes that is, you can't poke it off
I wish Trey
because
was
it gives.
I'd ask him for some more crankbaits.
But then when you break the crankbait off, sometimes that it will just float straight up.
Yep.
It is like an odd phenomenon. Hopefully he keeps his eyes peeled, because every time I break one off, I look and watch to see if that thing floats up, and it's surprising the number of times that will happen. We got Pipkins. He made a change over here. He's fishing seawalls. Looks like maybe back in the northeast. That's what that looks like. He looks like he's throwing some sort of crankbait or chatterbait.
Seeing some movement now. I misspoke earlier. Kyle Austin won't jump into second place with that fish, but when he goes into Bass Track, it'll move him into third, and it has officially moved him into third place. JT Tompkins, he's made an important call in the last 30 minutes. Chris Boudry caught his second fish in the last 30 minutes. Kyle Austin with that one now has 2 good ones in the boat. He's trying to make a run up from 6th place into the top spot. We've got 4 anglers right there within 4 pounds and change. It's not over. We'll see more when we come back on Bassmaster Live at the Upper Chesapeake Bay.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. It's sponsored by Ranger Boats, Yamaha, Toyota, Berkeley, and by Progressive.
We are just past halfway for the fishing day, but we're in our last segment here on Fox Sports 1. The weigh-in today, with the way the drama has unfolded on the final day. A big lead for Chris Boudry. He has given it back to 9th place JT Tompkins. He's moved up trying to look for his first victory. You can catch the weigh-in, Bassmaster.com today, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The top 10 anglers will duke it out for plenty of prize money, a chance at the Classic, and obviously furthering their career. This is one stepping stone today, and we appreciate the opportunity to do it live and bring you live fishing of some of the best up-and-comers.
If yesterday was any indication, that'll be pretty exciting today. We had our non-boater, Eugene Kim, won by 1 ounce.
Wow.
Over Ryan Ballman. Congratulations, both those guys, for having great tournaments.
For sure. A lot of those co-anglers use that money to jump up to the pro level in future years, and these pros try to jump up from the semi-pro level into the top echelon, which is the Bassmaster Elite Series. And David Gaston is not foreign to a top 10. He's made one earlier this year at Ross Barnett in Mississippi, and he's hooked up on he's made an adjustment, looks like, to some riprap.
Yeah, Ronnie J. secured our Elite Series Rookie of the Year, won 2 co-angler titles. John, you had a 1 ounce victory. You tied a bunch with a 1 ounce victory, your first win.
Yeah, that don't look sure pretty. Sure did. I mean, every single fish counts when you get to this level. Oh, Lord.
Caught a late 5-pounder down Sacramento Delta, is that correct?
Yeah, it was one pushing 5. I caught right at the end of the day. Ended up beating Skeet Reese by 1 ounce. And the first day of that tournament, I did not weigh a limit, and I had a 12-incher in my bag that I almost threw back. So every fish counts, every cast counts.
Wow.
David Gaston putting a fish in the boat here.
And an adjustment, throwing a crankbait. He said he had caught nothing but fish on a chatterbait this week.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and a lot of these boats now have the sea deck material that you're kind of seeing there on the in the floor of the boat. So it's actually nice for the fish. It protects them, and it doesn't. It's not like hitting the carpet.
Doesn't get as hot either.
It doesn't get as hot. And a lot of times when it gets moist, it's not going to pull the slime coat off. So the fish is perfectly fine, and it looked like it was a good decent keeper, 1.5-pounder, something like that. You know, it's still a lot of time to play out. I'm really anxious to see what afternoon bite kind of develops. We saw JT Tompkins with that monster bag really early on in the day, and now the afternoon bite, tide's starting to pull out. Fish are going to start adjusting, start moving around. Is that going to play into Boudry's favor? Is he going to be able to start, put 3, 4, 5 in the boat? Will it turn around for somebody like Duke and being more of a local, knowing where they're going to show up when that tide starts moving? I wouldn't be surprised to see Pete start putting some bigger fish in the boat this afternoon once that tide starts moving. A lot to play out here in the last 3 or 4 hours of this event.
You do not want to push it to the last hour, even though we see magic happen in the last hour of tournaments oftentimes. But Chris Boudry, he knows every keeper he can catch inches him so much closer to a win. And one awesome thing, John, you can speak to this, these anglers do not know what the live leaderboard has. They do not get that intel on the water. They know what they had lead-wise or deficit-wise when they leave the dock in the morning, and the rest of it is based off gut. Hey, maybe if it's a tough day, they think that no one else has caught them, and they get surprised at weigh-in. Maybe when they catch them really quick, they think that everyone's catching them. JT is probably motivated because he says they're probably biting a lot of places, and I need to keep catching them, when that's not the case. He is in the lead, and he doesn't know it.
Well, you never know. It is one of those things where you just have to fish, your kind of game plan, let things happen for you. If they don't happen for you in the first part of the day, maybe you adjust and kind of scale back your expectations. If you're really catching them good in the morning, then maybe you try to do some different things to catch some bigger ones. And that's just kind of how it's going. Boudry looks like he's just gonna live and die in that area up in the Susquehanna, and those fish are there, and he's just trying to figure out a way to get them to bite. He made that adjustment to start punching with the soft plastic, punching through those mats rather than throwing the frog over top.
Yep.
Trying to get some bites. We haven't seen that result in any fish catches yet. Pete Glusik making another adjustment, fishing another area here up around the upper flats area. I know kind of where that is, right next to a marina. I'm sure Pete's caught 100 fish there in his life. He knows that they live there. It looks like a little shade line. And I'm telling you, keep your eye on Pete here. I think he's got some open spots in his live well, and he can make up some ground real quick with a couple decent fish.
One thing about these anglers in pursuit of Chris Boudry, they get to fish much more with an open mind. They know they can't hold anything back. They have to try it all and hopefully build a big bag. Meanwhile, someone like Chris, who has ridden a frog to success in the day 2 lead, may lock that in his hand. And it could be the demise, or we could see a final hour magic for him. Chad Pipkins has always kept a lot of things honest. He's got a couple different areas in play this week at the Chesapeake Bay, and man, it's been an action-packed morning for how tough the fishing had been this week. In September on the Upper Chesapeake, it has not been the easiest tournament, but man, we got the pleasure of seeing some big fish and some action this morning. And John Cruz, as we saw, Trevor McKinney, JT Tompkins, a lot of these anglers getting started early. Kyle Austin with 2 good ones to his total as well. So is Chad Pipkins.
Yeah, some definite highlights early in the day. Drop shot working for Chad. A soaking wet Pete Glusik putting a nice, decent keeper in the boat.
Come on. Got Duke Nave fishing in his first top 10. He said, I think I'm going to continue to do these. And I said, I don't know, 1 for 1 sounds pretty good on making top 10s. You might want to get out while you can. Kyle Austin, 2 good ones to his total from 6th place. Getting into the top 3, having a shot. Trevor McKinney making an adjustment. We will see it all continue on Bassmaster.com in just a few minutes. You won't want to miss the weigh-in. Extended coverage online as well. And if you are out on Fox Sports 1, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you in a few weeks from Lake Hartwell in South Carolina on Bassmaster Live on Fox Sports 1.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing, is sponsored by Humminbird, Mercury, Nitro Boats, and by Bass Pro Shops.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the St. Croix Bassmaster Open at the Upper Chesapeake Bay, Cecil County, Maryland. very happy to bring you coverage of the final open of each division of the Bassmaster Opens. And boy, has there been some drama for the final day of the Northern Open season here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. It has been do or die every single day of competition. Guaranteed limits, not a thing this week. Guys coming in with one fish, quite a possibility, and we have a kind of developing situation here with JT Tompkins all the way from 9th place, 11 pounds behind to start the day, and he has assumed the lead. That lead is much smaller than it was just a couple minutes ago as Chris Boudry is trying to retake the lead back. Trevor Mckinney in the top 3, Kyle Austin, Pete Glusik as well in the top 5. Ronnie Moore here in the Bassmaster Studios, joined by special guest John Cruz and Mike Such-Sukan as our 3 commentator broadcaster group today. And John, the Upper Chesapeake Bay, as we take a look at Northeast Maryland where the takeoff is, it's been a dynamic fishery in years past, and we're just hitting it at a little bit of a tough time, but we've seen some drama.
That's right. The Upper Chesapeake Bay, tidal fishery, tons of grass up there. There's a huge grass flat right there they call the Susquehanna Flats. It is a factory for bass. It is amazing fishing all spring and into the early summer. In the fall, things get a lot tougher. And we're going to hear, I think, from JT Tompkins here, your current tournament leader. Got that.
I love her and how much she really holds everything together for me to come out here and fish and stuff, and it means a lot to me. And hopefully if I can get me about one more 4-pounder, I would get her a nice little present for her on her birthday. Probably not going to be home for a few months. Got a couple tournaments in a row, but hopefully it's about as good as she'll get probably for seeing me for a while. So I'm glad I can do it on a little bit of television. That's pretty cool. But yeah, try to get out here. We got some boat traffic coming around. I don't know, it might even help out here, break up the water. It's been so slick out here today. I don't think much else can really hurt it, so. Got about 2 hours and 15 minutes left. Gonna spend about an hour out here offshore, and then I'm probably gonna go wind around some banks, see if we can't pick up one more good one. I missed one earlier that just mouthed it, so maybe I can go up there and catch him. But yeah, had a good day catching fish out here.
JT started the day.
Most of my fish have actually come off a jig.
Yeah,
that's
what I was getting ready to say.
Tackle, and I've just been using like a little crawl type trailer from Strike King, and these Lew's rods have been phenomenal. The action on them's just great. You get out here and you get these fish in the structure. If you don't have a rod that'll give just right, you'll break them off, straighten out hooks, stuff like that. And I really haven't missed hardly any fish today. You know, it really helps having the right equipment, 100%. But yeah, I'm actually using Lew's KVD series rods and reels. They're only about $100, and they're about the best rods in the market, in my opinion. I love them so far. Really been an anchor for me for this week. So yeah, I'm gonna keep throwing these little stumps out here, and then we're gonna go crank some riprap, stuff like that, and see if we can't put one more in the boat.
It's one of those big jig fish from earlier. He mentioned the jig that he was catching them on earlier, and then he made some adjustments later. I think we're gonna see that here in a second, but man, he put the wood to him early with that jig. Kind of I didn't expect that change up. Then he changed up a little bit. I think he went more to some moving baits here. Puts another nice fish in the boat, and then he made another adjustment, fishing that rock riprap you can see in the bat. Looks like a chatterbait.
Yeah. So he's been rotating between a 1/4 ounce Senko, a 5/16 to a 1/2 ounce jig, and then a 1/2 ounce chatterbait. And we're seeing all those come into play, except for the Senko today with the spinning rod. But as it gets to midday, he's obviously making that adjustment. Might get a little tougher. He said hopefully it gets a little easier with this boat traffic. But one thing that he said specifically is, Ronnie, I have caught more fish and gotten more bites than anyone else around me in the Northeast area. I just have not caught a kicker, but everyone around me has caught a 4-pounder this week. I have not done that. We got to see him do that this morning. Hopefully that's the rationale is, oh, we have 180 boats. Now there's only 10. I got a lot more room. Maybe I'll catch some big ones. But we also have to put in perspective, that's 180 boats, 2 days in a row, a lot of pressure. This place is a place that everyone, if you don't have a pattern, you fish close, or if you're on your way back from your pattern, which is 60, 70 miles, you come back and fish. So a lot of pressure in this area, and it doesn't always mean on the final day with less people it's going to get better, but for JT, he got those bigger bites today compared to day 1 and 2.
Biggest limit of the day, 15.5 pounds, Ronnie's 38 pounds even.
If they bite it and miss it, they've been coming back and eating it, and that one wouldn't. So I don't know, something. I've been thinking it was going to be a late bite today, and I'm praying it's going to work.
The biggest story here really with Boudry is can he put more keepers in the boat? He is within striking distance, one small keeper away from the unofficial lead. He's only got 2 fish in the boat. He's got, I call it slots in your boat. He's got 3 slots in his boat for 3 more bass. 3 more keepers right now would move him into the unofficial lead. His audio's out. He's having some fish catching problems, and he's also having audio problems.
Did he fall in the water like Pete Glusik or no?
I don't think so. He could be sweating profusely and may have shorted out his microphone, but you know, he looks like he's putting together, you can see that milfoil in the background, how it comes to the surface. There's his first fish catch this morning on the frog.
That's the hope and desire.
Yeah, put the wood to him right there with that big rod that he said he had made an adjustment to, a little heavier action rod to get him out of that thick matted stuff. Fishing that frog, heaved a second one in the boat. That second one was an epic blow up. It was so awesome.
Now what's his mindset? It's a little past noon. He's got 2 fish when he's been done in the first hour and a half. The first 2 days catching bags over 16 pounds.
Everybody's wired a little different, but I think he knows what he needs to do here. He knows he needs to put 3 more keepers in the boat to realistically seal the deal here. He doesn't have big ones in the boat, but that doesn't matter. He still has openings in his live well, in his limit, 5 fish limit here. We've got 3 more spots that he can fill. He's just going to live with that frog and in those mats in the Susquehanna, try to make it work. Hopefully he'll run into one of those little pockets or pods of bass that are active. And I mean, this place has them in it. You could pull up to the right little stretch and catch them on 3 casts in a row. It absolutely 100% can happen. I think Boudry's hoping that happens to him. And I wouldn't be totally surprised if he didn't, you know, go back to back on a couple fish catches or something like that right here.
Keep the positive outlook that the victory is still within reach.
Yeah.
But he's got to know people have passed him by now.
Well, I mean, he had a big lead, and you never want to assume that, but you want to stay motivated.
You'd think that, though. You would.
And on bass tournaments, especially with our format, you're never out of it. And if you have time for 5 casts, you have time to catch the winning stringer of fish, especially on a tidal body of water where all of a sudden the tide starts to move, you get into a right area at the right time, and it can be 5 casts in a row and you're back in it.
Looks like Pete's locked up here. Pete's putting the wood to one. It looks like a decent fish here. Yep.
Come on now.
That's what he's looking for right there.
Number 4, he's 5:15 out on Bass Track.
That's a nice one.
Solid fish.
There's a lot of fishing time in between bites. It is so tricky with the flooded tide like it is. And I was glad to have this guy. That's a nice chunk. I got enough time, but not a lot. Just need to get the right bites. That's number 3. There you go. Come on.
It's number 3 in the boat. Pete's two decent bites away here from being able to be right in the mix. He's got 2 openings in his live well.
Pete's one that we kept our eye on. He said, hey, I used to be the young guy at these top 10 meetings, and last night I was the old hair. Veteran of the sport. He's made a couple classics from the Opens, fished for a long time. I think you said over 120 B.A.S.S. events, Such.
Yes, sir.
on the Chesapeake Bay, on the Delaware River, the Potomac, the James. He's a guy who's either going to be leading or in contention, or at least a wise figure that we need to get info from, because he knows how to fish these bodies of water, because it's just different than what a lot of people know when they grow up fishing.
Yeah, he's from South Jersey, long time friend, Iconelli, long-time friend of mine. I mean, just a great guy. He guides on this body of water that he's fishing here. He guides on the Delaware River. He does a lot of instructional videos for B.A.S.S University, does a lot of seminars. Great teacher, that's why they call him the Dean. Pete is slowly but steady putting him in the boat. And like I said, 2 more bites, he's right there.
What's incredible, because Pete doesn't know that Chris Boudry's struggling. He doesn't know what was resolved with Trey Swindle ahead of him.
5 fish for approximately 7 pounds.
Pete with 3 fish for 6 pounds.
Ran out of water over
doesn't
here.
think he's in it.
But he totally is.
He's only 6 pounds from winning.
Go make something happen somewhere else, I guess. Just need to get, I got 2 12-inchers or 13-inchers, so definitely got to get rid of them.
Over to Trevor Mckinney, fishing farther away than anyone else this week.
I'm probably going to move any second.
In the top 10.
You want to? Yeah, I've had a really good day. You know, I've had 6 bites, landed all 6 of them. Can't ask for any more than that. I mean, I've fished the heck out of this bank. I think I've caught every bass that lives down this bank. I mean, I probably caught 15 keepers down this bank in the last 3 days. And yeah, I mean, I fished the heck out of this bank. I'm about to make a move and hit a few things in this creek before I leave. We're doing it at 2:30. I'm probably gonna leave like 30 minutes to fish around the ramp, just because my chances of catching a big one around the ramp, I feel like, are a lot better than the area that I'm in. Had a 5.4 there the first day, and I feel like I have a lot better chance of catching like a 5-6 pounder and having a potential to win the tournament up by the ramp than I do right here, whereas I might catch another 3-pounder, which would be a big one here. So we're gonna hit a couple more spots in here and then run back towards the ramp. Hopefully we make it back, everything goes good, and catch a big one back by the ramp if we don't catch one here. So I'm happy how the day went so far, and hopefully we can get rid of our small one. We got a pound 87 in there as our smallest fish, and I'd really like to get rid of it with something 3 pounds or bigger to have a nice bag today. So we got the rest of the day to do it. We're gonna fish hard and leave it all out here on the water, so we'll see what happens.
Trevor Mckinney, it's hard to say he just graduated college a couple months ago, and he's not even close to being the youngest angler in our top 10. I think there's 2 or 3 people younger than him fishing today, but Trevor Mckinney from the college series, if that's a desired route for you after high school is to fish in college, there's great opportunities, and Trevor Mckinney is one person who showed that off. Coming from Illinois, fishing in a small town there, knocking out victories across the state or across the country in Bassmaster tournaments, then going up to the college level at McKendree on scholarship, ends up winning some events and also wins the College Classic bracket, makes it to the Opens to represent the college series. He's really gone through so many different bass tournament series. Now he's even touched the Classic stage. It's an awesome opportunity for him, and he's had success in the Opens as well.
Yeah, he's the real deal. This top 10 here is not an accident. It's not a luck deal. He's the real deal. He's going to be around for a while. It's going to be a name you're going to continue to see more and more. I think he's just fortifying himself as an unbelievable angler. He's got those instincts, just like we saw earlier with picking up that popping frog, making one cast, bam, putting a nice fish in the boat. And now we're going over to
we have life.
A veteran here, Chad Pipkins.
He's got hair like a college angler.
Close. I don't know if the water's going to be
fantastic hair. And the white pants. I can't get over that after Labor Day.
My first fish.
Wow.
A 2.5 pounder. You can kind of start to see, if you can see with the camera, you can kind of start to see the grass start to lay down a little bit. You can start to see the tops of stuff, see some holes. You can begin to get a lot more efficient. Otherwise, it's hard to hit the places they're at, because they might be swimming around everywhere, but they don't bite everywhere. They bite in these little clean places. I can finally see them. Just got to get them to eat. We had a visual on a bass. That's a start.
We'll have to
First
see if
day I had
Mel,
a
his wife,
1-hour
consulted
window.
on the white pants, or if she told him no, and he said, yes, I'm going
11
to.
12, which today would be about from 1 to 2.
She's not traveling with him, as he mentioned earlier, so I would have to say she may have known that he packed these, then she may not know that he packed these pants. But I mean, I think you save something like this for a final day. You're trying to make a statement. You're trying to show people that I'm a wild card here in this top 10.
Yeah, I'm here to stay. You better.
I'm here to stay. You better
Is
recognize.
that what it is?
You better recognize.
We mentioned that you either have to embrace the tide and run it, or you need to ignore the tide in general. A guy who knows all about the tides and what situations are good and how he's kind of been confused. He's now up in the northeast region of the upper Chesapeake Bay. He was in the Susquehanna River just over Chad Pipkins' shoulder. Up here now, and this is a place on the Chesapeake where you can fish and ignore the tide in general. You're the farthest away that you're going to be, and this could be.
Pete's got another one.
Come on now.
Got another good one.
The Dean.
That's not a big one. I thought it was a little bigger fish. He's in that area. I think we saw one of the other anglers fishing this earlier in the day. It is not. Everything in the Northeast is basically getting hit. I think this may be up in Northeast Creek, but there's a lot of fish in this whole area. We mentioned the restocking situation with where all these local tournaments go out of. And I said Pete guides here. He knows, he's fished it long time. He knows this fishery very well.
That's another one.
And that's a two plus pounder right there. It's exactly what he needs. Now he needs that kicker to really kind of push him up over the edge. He's filling up those Bass Cat live wells. Put him a little G juice.
Push him into title contention if he gets the right size one, John.
So we were on FS1 earlier, and we started the day with dramatics with JT Tompkins moving from 9th into 1st place. We also saw dramatics when we came to the Dean because he had a situation with his pull cord on his trolling motor, pulled the cord, snapped it in half, and did an Olympic-type dive into the water. He was okay. The Russian judges scored him at an 8.5, though it was not a 10
Little
out
low.
of 10.
Little low.
Glad to see he was okay, though. He was fine. He climbed back in the boat, got back after it, and has caught 2 or 3 decent fish out of his 4, at least that 2.5 to 3 pounder. He needs one more to fill his limit. Right now, that does not reflect that recent fish. If that's a 2.5 to 3 pounder, it's going to move him up into the top 3, approximately just a bite away from possibly taking the unofficial lead. So many anglers within a solid 3 or 4 pounder of getting this victory. We'll keep an eye on that when we get back from break on Bassmaster Live.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. It's sponsored by Humminbird, Mercury, Nitro Boats, and by Bass Pro Shops.
Bassmaster opens. If you've been waiting for the end of the season, maybe you were sad when we signed off at the Mississippi River. You get a little bit more fishing. We get to do 3 Bassmaster Opens to end each division. Little live coverage there. We'll do some College Classic bracket as well. We'll keep you occupied well into October, just before Halloween with Saturday morning bass fishing. As we take a look at our playing field and the way our anglers fishing today are lined out, a lot of the people are focusing in that northeast region of the Chesapeake Bay, not far from takeoff. And boy, as a guy who's kind of ran around and tried a bunch of different things, Pete Glusik, he's been down in the Susquehanna River, he's been up in the northeast area, and he just caught his 4th keeper just a couple minutes ago, on track to possibly move up the leaderboard even more so going into the afternoon.
I got him in 5th place at 8 1/4.
Oh, whoa.
5.
That's
Number
5.
5, baby. I'm hitting the camera with the rod. Not a giant. First objective, mission accomplished. Oh, we just need to get some big ones. Starting to get some bites here late in the day.
Pete knows where they live.
Go, number 5. Number 5. Go, baby. I like it when that line goes taut. Come on. One of these times I'm going to rear up on them, and it's going to be one of those Chesapeake giants.
Pete knows what it takes to win these events. He's won 2 in the past to get to the Bassmaster Classic. He's a veteran of the sport. He knows tidal fishing better than anyone else in our top 10, most likely. And for Pete, he caught 2 early this morning after he took a tumble, went for a long time without catches, and then 3 within the last 30 minutes to fill his limit and now unofficially move into the 3rd position. Once this fish gets in there, it'll put him into 3rd place, less than 2 pounds from
just battling that incoming flooded tide all day, just scrambling to get whatever bites I could get. And just nothing's working, and the tide starts dropping, and but it's just starting to move. It's still super high, and I got up on the bank and I just started practicing. We teach this at B.A.S.S. Don't take practice out of your tournament. You got to keep practicing. You got to keep adjusting to conditions, you know, all day, every day. And I got up shallow, boom, I got a bite off of wood, my biggest fish so far today, off of a shallow piece of wood, and I continued down that pattern, and I just put 2, thought that rock was 1. I put two more keepers in the boat, so I've got 5. It feels good in tough conditions to get 5, but I feel like I got a long way to go. We just kissed just right. I'm just about ripped the bass cat apart back there, but I feel like I need some of them Chesapeake giants. You know, there's 9-pounders weighed in tournaments. Not common this time of year, but 6s are, 5s are caught, and I'm fishing all around them. I know where they live. I just need hope. I'm hopeful that I can get my bait in front of a couple biters of that caliber. I'm going to need it. I've got tide on my side now. I'm not going to see a low tide, but we've got a good outgoing tide. We've got a lot of current in this area, but it's been a shallow deal. Like, just get on the bank on the higher water, and that's what got me to where I'm at right now. I'm going to see if I can take that and roll with it, and get one of these hooks into one of those bigger Chesapeake bass. We got nice blowdowns right here. We've got current rolling over them. This is a tremendous spot for a summertime fish to be. You got nice stained water, so my creature bait, I'm back to flipping. Got that spinning rod out of my hand at the moment because I've got this stained water and heavy cover. So, you know, I'm flipping a creature 3/8 ounce. I got 20-pound gamma. I got my casting worm jig rod, and I'm just, you know, I can really set the hook on a good fish and get them up out of this cover with this setup, and these conditions are just right for it. With this tree, is this the best looking tree in the history of the world? Look at the current ripping on it.
Feeling it right now. Safety's off. Everything looks good. That's a good place to be as a tournament angler on the final day.
Pete's put the wood to those last few with that cash and flipping stick for sure. He is feeling it. Like I said, he knows where they live. He just said the exact same thing.
Got him outside the head.
Trevor McKinney just caught a
keeper.
Just like a bass. It looks like a bass, but
I'd
smaller.
taken him on day 1 when I had 4.
Like some of the ones I was catching earlier this year.
I've caught like 3 of these little humpback looking deals.
Our top 5 are now within 3 pounds of each other.
That's one bite.
It went from one bite. It went from being 1st to 2nd with 7 pounds to 1st to 5th is 5 pounds. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's the third humpback I've caught in the last 2 days.
Tompkins is kind of in that no man's land where you fill out your limit. You've got all decent fish, and you really kind of scratch your head of like, how am I going to catch one bigger than 3 pounds? And he's fiddling with his tackle down here on the bottom right. He's been fiddling with it for a while. He's out there in the area near the ramp where bigger ones live, and he seems like he's just kind of in that headspace area where you're kind of spinning around trying to figure out how you're going to improve on a really solid day. It's a tough deal to stay focused when you have a good bag like that and you don't have like one small one to obviously cull. He's got all good ones, and he's just trying to figure out. I think he's going to make a little adjustment. Just picked up the trolling motor.
He's looking for 1 bite. He would love to catch 2 bites, but when you have your lowest fish is a 2 3/4 pounder, with the way it's been your smallest, that's what you have to cull. You need to go swinging for a 4 pound plus bite, and that's what he's probably going to just readjust.
It's a good sign.
Re-rig some things and go make that adjustment. We'll see if it pays off.
Going back to Pipkins here, he's been waiting for this tide to kind of drop out. He's up here. He's standing on the front like he's sight fishing, but he's actually looking for places to throw, and he's hooked up.
Hey, modeling his pants, for the Labor Day sale.
Whoa. Easy, little buddy. I told you the other was a bite, and it's a good sign.
Yeah, another keeper.
Not a giant. All day long, number 2. I think that other one was a bite. Maybe starting to get a little life here for us. Not a giant, but a clue. I like clues.
I think Chad did make the Classic this year, so maybe I'll look into some white pants and a baby doll to put in my basket.
Honestly, so that baby doll isn't anything demented.
We're ahead of schedule.
A gift. And now that he's made his first top 10 of the year, gift from his 2 daughters. Top 10, first time Kiko's in the boat. That's the baby doll name. You're going to keep that. And he said that Kiko's riding with me all next year if that's the case.
Yeah. He's throwing some ice in there, making himself a little fish cocktail. Actually, with the water being warm, it's just it's good bass conservation to throw some ice in there, cool the water down a little bit. Those bass cat levels are very big, so that whole bag of ice will cool it down just a little bit, but it helps slow their metabolism, help reduce the bacteria, and a lot of benefits.
And you don't necessarily want to cool the water down dramatically different than what it is. You just want to get it to that level, because I used to take a white towel and put it on the lid of my live wells, because white reflects light, and also having wet dampness, it just keeps it a little cooler, and I could feel the difference in the hot summertime of cooler water temperatures in there. It just allows, you're trying to offset what it's going to absorb through the live wells during a day of just sitting there.
Yeah, so a bass cat live well, it's funny you say that, they don't have latches on the top, because those are direct heat transfers. When that sun hits those latches on the top of a live well, it's like a heater going out down into those live well baskets. One of the few boats.
That's why they have the buckle. I never knew that.
It has a buckle on the front. That is 100% the reason. Rick Pierce told me that, and he did a study about the temperature difference. It's pretty.
Be like a magnifying glass pointing the heat back in there.
Absolutely, that's exactly the what happens. Kyle Patrick, look, he may have made a move there in the gun. I don't know if he's still in the gunpowder. He made a move. He's fishing around some docks.
There's one around here somewhere.
Off these docks, and
back over there.
I'm gonna then run like right where Kyle Austin is, I assume, which is outside the boat launch there. And I'm gonna fish the rocks and I don't know, just try to find something, but it's certainly not going as planned here.
Kyle with a good showing, top 10 here. He couldn't go below 10th. So today's your day to stumble if you are going to. And he's tried a few things, talked about how it's not worked out as planned, but that's what happens sometimes in the top 10. You have to make those adjustments. Some of the other guys have made some key adjustments and really starting to show. Kyle's making some adjustments now, and you never know. It could turn out to be be what he needs to move up a handful of slots in the tournament.
Yeah, and what's key for him is he is in the race for Elite Series qualification in the overall points race. We have 3 more events left, 1 Southern Open, 2 Central Opens. So even if he gained 2 points today, that is 2 points that no one else in the overall race can get. It keeps him in contention. And right now, if it were to end today, he would be in the Elite Series, I do believe, because he is 4th in the overall points. But someone who is in the top 3 is already qualified, and that would be Keith Crochet. He qualified from the Northern. So if you were looking at home and you're listening in, you want to know, well, when I look at the Northern, Centrals, and Southerns, and I compare them to the overall, where do we work down the list if there's double qualifiers? Well, last year, we gave that double qualifier slot. We worked down the individual division. But this year, based on the consideration from the anglers' requests, we will qualify anglers from the individual. If any of those individual tournaments overlap the overall top 3, we move down the overall list. So if you're fishing all of them, you get an opportunity if you're 4th or 5th to possibly
overall
get
right
in.
now, we got Canadian Cooper Gallant's leading, Keith Poche 2nd, John Sukup's 3rd, Cal Patrick is 4th, 5 points back of Sukup, and he could pass him today if he climbed from.
Yes.
2 more events is a lot of fishing, but like you said, you never know how it's going to shake down. It may come down to 1 or 2 points. A lot of guys have been in or out of the Classic by just a couple points. He puts a couple good fish in the boat. He could jump up to 6th or 7th place, 5th place maybe, and put himself right into where he wants to be.
It says currently 10th place, but with Trey Swindle's disqualification today, he can finish no worse than 9th. So he will lose only 1 point at maximum today. He can gain those points that he needs, though. And if you are just joining us, Trey Swindle went out today, was going to be 2nd place heading into the final day. At Bass rules, we always check 1st and 2nd place. No matter what, it's up to the tournament director's discretion to do a random check.
Usually
possibly.
it's a top 10 when you make a top 10.
Oh, yeah, okay. And so, a normal takeoff is 1 and 2. The top 10 get checked. He did not have the appropriate amount of insurance. He had insurance, proof of it, but not the highest amount, which is $300,000 to fish B.A.S.S. events.
You need a minimum of $300,000. I think he may have had around $100,000. Which may be fine for recreational boaters. It is not what we need in the professional tournaments. I just absolutely hate it for Trey. I know he's been working hard at it for a number of years, and I hate to see that go that way for him. We got another little action with JT Tompkins.
That's the one I need.
He's looking for one of them big ones.
Let's go.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
Ooh, good beat.
That's
White
the one you're looking
chatterbait.
for.
Got one of them old big heads.
Oh, there we go.
That'll call it 212.
Yeah.
That's the one you're looking for right there.
That fish is every bit of 4 pounds, I believe. He's going to weigh it and tell us, I believe. Got his Rapala scale out.
Oh, shaking a little bit. That's what you live for.
JT is on a roll today.
Oh, yeah. 4.14. 4.14.
4.14.
Almost
I thought it's the difference in 4.14 and 4 pounds 14 ounces is way different. So I was about to say if that's almost a 5-pounder,
Nah,
he's going to be.
I got to yeah, it's
just under 4 1/4.
Yep.
Now how's that for a call?
Oof. He's
that's at least a
he's
pound
gonna
and
have
a half coal.
He's going to have a gross-looking bag today.
I'll weigh him to make
Near
sure
the biggest bag of the event.
I think he may be pushing that right now.
What did he do? A 2 3/4, and that was a 4 1/4. So that is a 1.5 pound upgrade. That gets him to 17 pounds unofficially today. And we've only had 2 bags over 17 pounds this week. So now, saving the best day for last.
Sorry, buddy. I think we got ourselves a bag now.
He is completely accurate.
And now we know it's not just a simple keeper that could get Chris Boudry into the top spot. He's going to need a good one, or he's going to need 4 or 5 to get his, possibly hold this out and win the event. But JT Tompkins.
Starting 11-6 back, Ronnie.
Anything can happen. That's one thing great about bass fishing. You can leave the dock the hero and come back to zero, or vice versa. A chance for redemption. And JT Tompkins has came up short of the Elite Series qualification the last 2 seasons in the Northern Opens by just a few points each year. And the chance for this 20-year-old to get early redemption in his career and win this event, it's right there. We'll be right back to see more from him after this commercial break.
Look at the size of that bass! Live coverage of the St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay is presented by Mossy Oak Fishing.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live. Just a short commercial break. We got to catch our breath from JT Tompkins. Grebe diving. Look at that. Look at him getting the bait fish.
Is that an albino grebe?
I think it is. That's what an albino grebe is, an immature grebe. They change colors when they become of mature nature. That's what I've learned from Mark Zona.
Wow.
So we go back out to JT Tompkins. Just made a 2-pound cull. He's up to 40 pounds, 1 ounce, 3 and change over second.
Well, just put another good one in the boat. Finally got rid of that rat. So I think my smallest one is 3 pounds on the dot. And if I could get me about a 5-pounder, that would really make a huge difference in this tournament. But the leader, he had a super phenomenal last 2 days, and these open guys are just super strong anglers. So I didn't think I was going to make the top 10 today. So however this sucker shakes out, I'll be pretty happy. But yeah, we're just gonna keep fishing shade lines with a chatterbait and try to fish some shade lines. I don't think the current's gonna kick up like I'm looking for, so try to fish as many high percentage areas as we can, close to the launch as we can, and make sure we give ourselves an opportunity for another big bite. And looks like we actually just got a little wind pickup, so if we can get some wind and a little chop on the water, and they could really pull up on some hard structure, and I could burn up some water with a chatterbait. If I can get some wind and a little bit of shade mixed together, it could line up for another big bite. So we just got to keep putting baits in front of fish and hope a big one commits. But had a fun day. About all I could really ask for coming into today. I was sitting there biting my nails for the last 3 hours during weigh-in yesterday. So it's just awesome to be able to get out here on this awesome fishery one more day. And I know everybody's probably looking at the weight saying this place is not a very good fishery, but this place is probably one of the best tidal water fisheries in the world if you come here at the right time. And if you come up here during the spring, it takes like 25 pounds a day to really do much here. And right now, we got a lot of stuff going on. We got a little bit of cooling temps and a lot of mixed stuff. We got a lot of pressure, a lot of tournaments, and just a lot of anglers, especially with these open guys. They're going to beat these fish up because they're so good. And but yeah, if you ever get a chance to come down to Chesapeake Bay, you definitely should. This place is amazing.
Yeah, I think JT's on the right track with his analysis of the Upper Chesapeake Bay, but yeah, not quite the right time of year is the exact right statement. This place is full of fish, a lot of 3 and 4 and 5 pound fish. Not getting to see the full potential of what this place can do, but at least we know that they're there. So any of these guys could stumble onto a stretch of those fish that have, one of those little wolf packs that has, 4 and 5 pounders in it, and they can make a little run, make some noise here in the last hour or so of this event. JT, though, showing a little bit of potential what even September can bring for the Upper Chesapeake Bay. Current leader right now, he's going to be, that last fish made it, put a lot of pressure on the rest of the field. Boudry, it's still really his to lose, in my opinion. He can absolutely come back and win it with one good fish, a couple of decent keepers, be right there.
Got a good looking shade line over there.
It's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out here.
I
caught one pretty good one at the end of
when
the
I
day
ask
yesterday.
you, John, I used to text you. I don't text you anymore about this because I know the answer, but I used to say, what's your favorite lake on the schedule for next year and what's your least favorite? And you said, I like them all and I dislike them all the same amount. And it was a mindset thing. How many anglers this week were just defeated before they left the dock, knowing it was going to be tough, knowing they were discouraged, knowing they were frustrated. But the way JT Tompkins, he had the same mindset on the phone after 2 11-pound days. He didn't just all of a sudden be happy-go-lucky and positive because he has 17-plus pounds today. He has had this mindset all week. And how important is that in a tough event to just know, hey, it's tough for me, it's tough for everyone, but the fish live here, and we've got to figure it out.
Yeah, when you're in this tournament, as a tournament angler, your mindset has to be 100% on how am I going to get my next bite? How am I going to catch them? They're moving, they're adjusting. Like he's just all he's talking about. Oh, we just had a little wind pickup. I'm going to look for some more shade lines. I'm going to throw this chatterbait. I think that's how I can catch a big one. That's how I just caught this big one. I'm going to look for some more places like it, and I'm going to just keep going out there and bang around and see if I can't find one more fish to call this 3-pounder, as he said, 3 pounds on the dot. And that's really what has to be in your mind, and that's it. You know, we had the St. John's tournament earlier. I led it from wire to wire after the second day. You know, Mercer asked me, you know, what would it mean to, you know, to win this tournament? And my answer was, the only thing I can think about is how I'm going to catch my first bass tomorrow. That's all I can think about. And I really, that's all I could. I couldn't get it out of my mind. That was it.
You don't need to think about the trophy or the weigh-in until you check in at 2:30 on the final day of the event. And that's the mindset that a couple of these anglers have. They're getting a breath of hope the last few hours of this tournament. Pete Glusik, one of those, as we're out with him live right now. Pete Glusik and JT Tompkins, Trevor McKinney even. Those guys are on the positive swing.
Pete's fishing some isolated wood here. He just puts the wood to one with that cash and flipping stick, as he was talking about earlier. That's going to call.
Mm-hmm. Get rid of his
first one. It's not the giant that he...
He's not giant, but he's bigger than the one I got in there. We'll take him.
Precisely.
He took it out of our mouth.
Man, that current is
Trying to put his power poles down and get situated so he can maybe fish that some more. A lot of these pieces of wood like that, you can catch multiple fish off of.
That probably makes a pound for me. Maybe half a pound.
That first one he caught was a squeaker. So this is looks like at least a 2-pound, maybe a 2-pounder.
Might go in as his 4th biggest or 5th biggest now. It's still not bigger than his middle 3. His 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fish were very good. His 1st and 5th were the first ones that need to go.
Stay with me, Junior.
And I have to disagree with Pete. He said that tree earlier looked like the best tree of the day. I think the tree that you catch one off of is better than that one. That's what he just did with that tree. You saw it on the left side of your camera.
Yes.
Slight tree, any kind of structure, when this tide starts to fall, that's off the bank will bring fish to it.
He's about 3/4 of a pound behind Boudry to get into 2nd place. He started 7:13 back of him.
Mm-hmm. The only thing missing from Pete today is a 4-pounder. That 4-pounder can help him close the gap even more if he was to get a good bite like that, like JT has had this morning.
Pete, as he's lost his microphone earlier with his swan dive off the side of his boat when his trolling motor cord broke. That is such a random event. All the equipment now is so good that it's just odd when that happens. It really is.
It was very difficult to do with 200 boats in the tournament. You know, you just couldn't run around and junk fish or pattern fish. You ran into all kinds of, I mean, you just really could only fish about, 5% of what you were targeting. You had to keep driving by because there's just so many boats. But now that it's just the 10 of us and everything's opened up, so I'm opening up and I'm looking at this habitat a little bit differently, and I'm just I'm able to go up to the easiest to spot stuff in the world and just caught a fish off of. Whereas during the tournament it was all about offshore, getting away, finding a way to catch them where you didn't have to get on the bank. But all that offshore stuff did not function for me today, or even a lot of yesterday. So anyway, I'm up on the bank. I'm just flipping. Got my flipping stick, and I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going till we're out of time. By the way, I appreciate you guys posting my swim this morning. My phone's lit up with text messages.
Pete is a swimming, diving
I
sensation.
was hoping you guys are my buddies, man. I thought you might have my back.
We do.
Should have known who I was dealing with.
They had wide angle on his back, I believe.
Big guy.
It's not a situation where Michael Scott moves out, or where Jim moves out of the way and makes Michael Scott fall in the koi pond. It wasn't like the cameraman just was there, innocent bystanders as Pete fell in. It was not one of those situations. We did not set you up for fame for the wrong reasons.
Man, I just called for the first time. I think I'm hovering around that 10-pound mark. I'm looking for some of them Chesapeake giants. We need a couple of those.
You know they're here, Pete.
I know. I'm going to try fishing under these paddle boarders or kayakers. Maybe I'll find some there.
Paddleboarder pattern. I've never heard of that.
Pete's last fish did put him up into second place. 3 pounds out of the lead.
Come on, baby cake. Go.
Interesting to watch this 4-box. Looks like Pipkins
Gosh, dang it.
He's gosh danging.
Damn.
Must have seen one, or
the one saw
I
him.
saw her turn on it, dude. No.
He flipped into a hole. He's flipped.
How are they not eating it? It was a 3+. Gosh, dang it.
He's fishing these holes in the grass.
How do they not get it? Dang it. Right where I caught him. Oh, it makes me a little bit sick. I knew she had it. I saw her go over there and kind of. It's a big one. Damn. They're wanting to eat. They're still not eating it like eating it, but. She was just milling around. She happened to lift off the bottom a little bit. Dang. Sure that other one was a bite too that I missed. That's 39.17. We're gonna get our chances. Just gotta capitalize. Little taste of throw up in our mouth right now. Just a little. It's getting right. The water's moving. Had one miss my bait a bit ago and caught a little keeper and just saw a big one, like a 3+ for sure, and pitched to her, and I saw her kind of nose down and picked up, and it was just easing off, and somehow she didn't have the dang hook. So definitely a little missed opportunity there, but I know where she lives, and they're close to happening. You know, they want to. This is what happened the other day. It started moving, and I got bit. So don't have a ton of time. I wish I'd have caught that one. We've been pretty good shape, but part of the game. We got enough time to make it happen if we can get our happy hour going. We can put happy hour in the boat. I don't know how they don't get that sometimes when they do that. But they're looking for food right now, I feel like. I got some food for them.
Pipkins talking about that drop shot. He just had that one, pick it up and miss it. That is so frustrating as an angler when the fishing is tough and you have one that you know is a good fish. Pick it up, it is just Oh, it's a heartbreaker watching that happen. I've been there.
Especially Pete Glusik mentioned when it does get to this time of the year, the water's clear, but these fish get crazy eyes. And I said, what are crazy eyes? And he said, it's so clear they can see your bait, they look at you, and they just keep on swimming. These wolf packs drive you crazy. Pipkins seems like he's found a group of fish in the grass, in the holes, that a little keen to his deal, and they're just not biting. But we've got plenty of time, and that window has opened, seeing JT Tompkins and a new second-place angler, Pete Glusik. Trevor Mckinney in fourth, right behind Chris Boudry, who's in third. Kyle Austin's had a great day as well. In fifth place, we'll keep you up to date as we go into the last hour of Bassmaster Live coverage before these anglers check in. The final day here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay.
Whoa! Look at the size of that bass! Live coverage of the St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay is presented by Mossy Oak Fishing.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live. Check this out in the boat of Kyle Austin as these guys make runs. Important timings coming up. You want to be fishing when the fish are biting. You want to be where you are at the key and right times. Some of these anglers, as the low, they're not going to get to low tide. It's just going to be right around weigh-in time. But every minute you can fish as that water is moving, whether it's going up to high tide or falling down towards low tide, that has been a key window of time this afternoon for anglers. You want to be on your hot spot at that time, and these guys making key runs. We just saw JT Tompkins a couple segments ago make an adjustment and put a almost 4-pounder, or put a 4-pounder in the boat to make a 2-pound coal.
That's right. Now we got Kyle Patrick here. It looks like he may have moved back into. I think this is in the northeast. This is that little creek on the east side. Got a bunch of pads and grass in the back of it. He kind of abandoned his gunpowder deal. He's just trying to put a few more fish in the boat. As we mentioned, for him, this could be very important. If he can put a couple more keepers in the boat, get a couple more places, a couple more points for him as he's trying to make his bid on. Uh-oh, here it is. Just hog snatched him right in the boat.
Dude. We've not mentioned that. That happened down the bay here. Aaron Martin's furious hog snatcher.
Yeah.
Yes. Was this
2015? Yes.
But was this his last win on the Bassmaster Lead Series?
Well, I wish I was excited about that 1.5.
Is it Champlain after that?
We got 3 more to catch.
Yes, you were correct.
Came off this stump, super shallow, and I think there's going to be more down this stretch. Hopefully I can get 2 more here, and I'm going to run to the launch, try to fill my limit. I don't know, man. I mean, he smoked it, absolutely smoked it. But let's see if it was a fluke. It might have been, but I caught him here in practice. I caught 2 here in practice, so who knows? There might be a few more to pick off, and we keep rolling. It's not over till it's over.
It's crazy what a 1 pound 5 ounce, 1 pound 8 ounce bite does for an angler after going 4 or 5 hours. Like, you're back in. I could still win this thing.
Yeah,
I'm in it. There, yeah.
I'm in it, baby. Yeah, he's pitching around. There's, I mean, look at all this cover right here. Of course, there's going to be plenty of bass in that area. It's just you can find those ones that are up there ready to feed. As he said, that one he just caught. He thumped it. He hit it hard. That fish was definitely in a feeding mode.
If I'm being honest, I'm going to catch one on that dock. I'm pretty confident in it.
Like you just said, now he's confident he's going to catch one on this dock after he's gone 5 hours without a bite.
You saw with.
I got 3 bites on that dock in practice, and I didn't set the hook on one of them. And I haven't hit it at all because gunpowder has been so good to me that I really haven't had to. So I got a few tricks up the sleeve.
Going back out to the 4-box. Pipkins is still just living and dying on that open grass. Gaston's gone to the...
No!
Dude!
Patrick lost him one off the...
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's fishing super shallow, as he mentioned. When you're fishing super shallow like that, and you set the hook up, a lot of times you just jerk the fish out of the water. You never get leverage to actually set the hook. What you're doing is you're putting so much pressure on that fish, you're ripping the fish out of the water.
I've got 2 in the bag.
To where they have 0 resistance, and you never get the hook in the fish. Wow. And sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you can just wait a little bit longer, try to sweep the hook set, try to sweep that hook set, and hopefully, you know, give them a little more resistance so you can penetrate the hook. But I think Kyle puts the wood straight up. Watch this. And this is your natural reaction as an angler. You get, boom, you get a bite, straight up in the air. You just lift the fish out of the boat, and the hook never penetrates the fish. I mean, I've done it 100 times in tournaments. It is, sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes you can, you know, wait a little bit longer, hook them, you know, like towards the side, sweep set a little bit more, and you get a better hook set sometimes. But I think he's onto something here. He hasn't gotten to his key dock, as he said, right up ahead of him, and he's gotten 2 bites there pretty quick. Might not be the last we hear from Kyle here today.
There's a big one.
Oh boy.
That wasn't perfect. That's a good.
He said, "Get in here,
Thank
fish."
you. Yeah. That'll help the cause, won't it? When did I catch that one? Let me get out here and put it on. Or don't roll up in that barge and get messed up. Man, I worked hard for that one. I appreciate that. I appreciate your confidence in me. Yeah. I'm gonna get away from that. I don't.
David Gaston asked him earlier in the week how he has done so well this week, and he says, I have no idea. He's just been fishing what's been in front of him, throwing a chatterbait, keeping high percentage areas, not running too much, not overfishing the Chesapeake Bay. It seems like on these tidal places, a lot of people can fish fast through areas and they can overfish the body of water. And if you just be patient, just stick in an area and fish it thoroughly, you can end up doing a lot better than others around you. And that's what we're seeing some of the guys in Northeast. They have survived the flotillas and have advanced on to today.
That's right, yeah. Gaston just put that good fish in the boat. That fish is definitely over 3 pounds. He did a completely unconventional boat flip with the non-rod hand, grabbing the line and just heaving that fish in the boat. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. He made it look natural, and it worked. It got him in the boat, unlike our guy Kyle here that had that fish come off. But that was definitely the one he was looking for, as he said. Got Tompkins out there fishing more of the open water, trying to get him one of those whales that lives in the upper Chesapeake Bay. He's got 5 really good fish in the boat. He's going to be tough. You know, time's ticking away here. You know, some of these guys, whether it's Pete or Trevor or whoever's right there, or Boudry. Boudry just needs to put a couple fish in the boat, and he can scare him. He can get him.
One thing I love about JT Tompkins, so we talked about Trevor Mckinney being young. I think 5 of our top 10 are less than 26, 27 years old. Very young field, a couple good veterans and Elite Series pros and touring anglers in the top 10 with them. But JT Tompkins, 20 years old, leading this event unofficially right now. He has won at the semi-pro level in another organization early last year. He has victories, he has success, but he took it a different route. Let's just say college isn't necessarily for you.
How much you got?
You want to be a pro angler.
Really?
And you want to be a pro angler. JT Tompkins said he went the route of doing this. He had the ability. His parents said they were invested in helping him for a few years. And so from 18 years old, he went from high school fishing to the Opens.
No, you're good. Don't even think about that. No.
He said, I don't want to go to college and not end up needing that degree later. I'd rather pursue this all I can.
I don't want to. There's no reason for you to not stay. No, don't worry about it.
So here's some of the camaraderie that you see out here on the Elite Series. You see it on the Opens as well.
If I'm going to catch them, I'm going to catch them. If I don't, I don't.
Two guys that are fishing the same area. JT just told him he's got a good bag. I can't tell if that was Kyle that he was talking to.
No, Kyle has a boat.
It was Duke who said he had 3, right?
Yes, somebody has 3. Is it Duke Nave, you said?
I believe so.
Could have been Duke. Duke saying, hey, man, I'm going to just bail out of here and leave it for you.
You got a chance to win.
Yeah, you got a chance to win. And then JT says, nah, dude, you do what you do.
Yeah.
You know, we both been fishing this. We both found it. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to beat you anyway. No, he didn't say that. I'm just kidding.
But that's what happens a lot of, you get to know each other. Everything gets to be reciprocal amongst the majority of the field. It's just neat. We have a lot of marshals that comment, man, I can't believe how cordial you guys are. It's like, are you kidding me? This is Bill Lowen. Like, I've watched his kids grow up. I fished against him for 15 years. He's a really good person. His wife's super nice. Like, why would I not be nice to Bill? He's nice to me. I'm nice to him. We're fishing. We're having a good time. It's all good.
The more cordial and nice you are, yet not get walked all over and stand your ground at times when you know you're right or wrong.
Right.
The more friends you have out on the water, and the more friends means the more fishing space you have. Because if you are fishing a 1 or 2 cast area, you can't get many angles on a spot, and it's a guy you have treated with respect, and you guys respect each other, you get to, he says yes, come in and fish.
You get the benefit of the doubt.
But if you've treated him poorly, you got a lot less water to fish out on there, so. And David's just around it all right now.
Yeah, he's fishing in front of a marina. I mean, that's what you expect on a Saturday. So he's not too upset about it.
Just hanging out.
Dude, you wouldn't believe the number of times I've had boats idle through an area I'm fishing, and you catch one on the very next cast. So it all happens for a reason. I think a lot of those fish congregate around those little bottlenecks where the boats go in and out because there's action. There's stuff going on. The bottom's staying stirred up. The fish
especially on tidal places where they have crabs and crawfish, things that dig around and root around.
Absolutely.
You heard a wahe but the bass were following the
got a little
carp
water
were rooting up things they could eat.
Mm-hmm. I expect to see a few fireworks here in the last
messing with you all day.
Last few minutes. Good. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from Pete here lately. He was on a roll. Thought he was going to get at least one of those bigger bites. Tighten everything up.
Have to cull once, maybe twice, to make up his 3-pound, 1-ounce deficit to JT Tompkins.
Come on.
55-year-old Pete Glusik is in second place.
I know quite a few 55-year-olds who, if they took a tumble like he did this morning, that would have been their day. They would have just not been able to fish, and it would have been.
Pete was very great. He could be black and blue on his left side in the morning, but he's not feeling a thing right now.
Spry.
He is not feeling one thing right now.
Like a scuba guy going back over the side of the boat.
Look like Scuba Steve.
What I love is when he was swimming down the side of the boat to get to the ladder in the back, it looked like your friend that when you show up to a pool party and he's been swimming, he comes up to the side of the pool and you're like, my friend's here. He was so excited to see the camera guy there. David Gaston's hooked up.
Hooked up again. Just like I said, right after that boat went through, it's a smaller one.
Is that a catfish?
I believe it's a catfish.
Yes.
It was wagging around weird. It has gotten slick in Chad Pipkins' area. Boat traffic is helping JT Tompkins a little bit there. I love the moves Tompkins has made. He left that area and went and fished shallow, caught a key upgrade and went back out there. If he knows this is a place that he can end his day for a good bite, then he is on the right path. Leaving a spot and catching one on your next spot is always a little in-between, letting an area rest. So Kyle Austin, he has provided a couple good catches as well today. Pete Glusik, I will say, With everyone being 7 to 12 pounds behind entering today, none of them seemed down on their luck. They all seemed motivated to go out and put on a show today. You see JT Tompkins, Pete Glusik have surpassed Chris Boudry, our day 2 leader, with the big lead. Meanwhile, Trevor McKinney, 4th place overall.
Kyle Austin in 5th, and it's going to be a shootout here. We're going to come back in here in just a minute.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. It's sponsored by
Minn Kota, Power Pole, Skeeter Boats, and by Rapala.
Welcome back to Bassmaster Live here at the Upper Chesapeake. Whoa, where are we at there? Little old barn, maybe an old...
That's an old...
barge container?
Yes.
Barge warehouse?
Right there by the bridge?
Yeah, right on the banks of the Chesapeake Bay.
A little overgrown.
I think our guy Zach Brown's getting a little crafty with the
That's a
drone
nice
shot.
Sweet drone shot
Yeah.
right there. At Susquehanna River.
Susquehanna River has been a place of emphasis this week by a couple guys. We saw Chad Pipkins around there, Pete Glusik, and our day 2 leader, Chris Boudry, who has landed a 17-pound bag and a 16-pound bag on day 1 and 2 from this general region.
2 fish today need some last-minute heroics, Ronnie, to
He's
going to pull out the victory.
He's gone to the punching.
Still has 3 bites to fill a limit, and by the time you do that, you will fill the gap. Oh.
Uh-oh. I thought he was going to lay the wood.
To do that on point.
He's about 3 pounds back.
He could get it done in 1 fish, but
yes,
like we said, the skew on the other guys with their 5 fish limits. If
He's
you're
only
off by each fish by 1/4 pound, that's over a pound difference in their bass track. Whereas with him with 2 fish, we know he's got a pound in something and a 2 in something. You know.
Yeah,
he doesn't have much room to be error.
Yeah, he needs to put at least 1 or 2. He needs to put 2 fish in the boat to have a shot here. I think Tompkins is almost topped out at what he's got. He's got 3 pounders, his smallest. Pete's got some room to cull up, but catching a 4+ in the last few minutes is going to be tough. So it's really coming in the last few minutes, and you never know what could happen here. Boudry's got a little no-wake zone to kind of navigate, and then to get back over to the northeast, I think Pete and Tompkins, and I think now Austin are all within sight, if you will, of the check-in, so that they can fish up to the last minute. Boudry's got to do some work here before he makes that little run, probably a 10 to 15 minute start to finish run back over to the takeoff for where he's fishing. And as you were kind of talking about earlier, Ronnie, with that frog that Boudry's did his damage with the last 2 days, and then earlier this morning, he's kind of gone away from it. He realizes he just needs to catch a couple more keepers. He's gone to the punching, which is where you're having a heavier weight with some sort of soft plastic on there, and pushing down through those mats to get to where those fish are that are just kind of hanging loose under those mats. They've got good sunny conditions, perfect for fishing those mats. A lot of times when it gets calm, it actually makes the mat fishing better. Everything kind of is nice and settled. It doesn't look like there's a bunch of boat wakes or anything in his area. So the fact that Boudry's not catching any more fish is a little bit of a surprise to me.
And if anyone wants to say anything about the struggle that Chris Boudry's had, the key is that every single person in our top 10 has had a tough day, or both days were consistent but subpar.
While you were
This
gone.
is just his tough day. It happens to be the final day, but he has done enough work to be in contention despite having a tough day today. He had a 7-pound lead for a reason.
That's right.
Whether you're down by 7 or up by 7, you have a good day or a bad day.
It seems like the bigger fish
It
move every
all
day.
equals out to your total. It's a
Seems
good
like the
thing we
bigger
didn't
fish
zero on
move
the
on which
final day
piles
of
they
this
want to be
event.
on every day.
Because it would look like Chris wasn't
They'll
even
get in
fishing
one
this
little
tournament.
zone and then
But he has earned this lead and the kind of the leash he's given the field.
Heck, I've caught my bigger ones on the chatterbait. Or my biggest one was on the chatterbait. Yeah.
Tompkins
got in about 30 minutes ago.
One of the other guys a little rundown of his day. Looks like he's out there in that open water.
3 for like 7.
Using his forward facing to isolate
I just
the
want
cover.
to finish in the top 3 mainly. And if that guy screws up, maybe I can squeeze in there. I don't know. I doubt it.
That guy, a.k.a. Boudry.
I mean, the guy still only has to catch 6 pounds. I know.
He has no idea that guy.
Probably
has
going to
2
go
fish
make
for
one
3
more
pounds.
chatterbait run, then I'm going in. It's probably all I got time for, to be honest. Really? There's like a big old box out there in like 12 that I haven't fished yet, but I'm probably not going to. Yeah. I ain't playing out here anymore, I don't think. I'm probably going to go shallow the rest of the day. It's my best shot to catch a big one. What? Yeah.
Kyle Alston. Been out here all day, bouncing around offshore.
Yeah, I think JT Tompkins is almost going through the motions a little bit on this offshore stuff. I don't know that he believes that this is where he's going to catch a big one.
All right, we're going to move.
So yeah, he realizes it,
All
and
right.
he knows he's going to go back to the bank and try to catch another one of those 4-pounders like he caught earlier. And I mean, honestly, if he does catch one more good fish like that,
He'll be close to 20 pounds.
That might be the one that seals it.
And for JT, I mean, he seems like a good kid and someone who supports the anglers fishing around. Like he understands he's fishing around a lot of people. He knows that it's the nature of the beast.
Pete's
Glusik
hooked up
with the fish. I don't know if that'll call that one. Close.
That one may be.
Let's have a look-see.
But JT has to feel good that on the previous 2 days, he was the low man out on catching a big fish in this area. And to hear what Kyle has, to hear what Duke has, he now knows, I'm the one who got to catch the big ones today. They're not all just biting. I got those bites.
That's right.
So I have flipped the script now on the leaderboard. And that's why he knows, hey, guy only needs 6 pounds to beat me. Yeah. He doesn't know that he has half that at 3 pounds, but he knows that he pushed him to having to do something.
Right, and Boudry's in a different area, so nobody's talked to him. Nobody knows what he's doing. Pete's down here culling, going through his fish. I do think that one he caught, the number 5 keeper, was definitely smaller than that one he just caught. It's going to give him half a pound, possibly. But it's not gonna be what he needs. Yeah, that's a small one. That's the one.
Yeah, he needs. I know we say it a lot. A 4-pounder. He just needs a 4.
He does.
He has a lot of really similar fish. He needs one.
He needs
difference. He needs to look in his limit or look in his live well and know that's the big one. Not touch him and fumble around. That's the big one, and because it's made the.
That's it.
The deal.
Exactly what it is. You know, we saw Austin catch a couple of those difference makers. That's what Pete needs. I mean, we saw
roll back through that deal for about
Tompkins
25 minutes.
just absolutely put on a show of nice fish.
And that's after day 1. He was 30th. He was 11 pounds even.
3 bites
and he had
before.
11 and a
Still
half to
does 3
move inside
bites.
our top 10 at 9th.
Put them in
Now
the boat.
today, bust the big. That's kind of a path to victory.
That's right. Yeah, Pete said it earlier when he was talking. He said, you know, the second day he had 1 4-pounder. The first day he had 2 4-pounders.
And we'll be out
Now
here.
he knows he needs one of those 4-pounders, at least one. He's got a few small fish. They're
Trying
all
to
about
keep
the
a
same
few
size.
things honest. You're gonna catch one or get hung. I like number 1. Come on. Or hook some of this floating crap. Yep. Hang it. I don't think I can. So weird how I don't even know if I can make the cast today because all this stuff.
Yeah, where Pipkins is fishing,
We'll
we was
give you
talking
one
about you
try,
get that
Mr.
floating
Fish.
grass that floats around. If you don't have the tide to pull it out, or and you don't have the wind to push it up against one bank or the other, it just scatters and floats around out in the middle, and that's what they're dealing with, especially where he is at. You can see that it's just slick. The water's just slick right there where he's fishing. And unfortunately, Chad is trying to make a cast, looks like with a crankbait around that bridge. Can't quite do it.
Back to the flat we go.
And he's out of there. He said enough of that.
This is how I like to fish, though. Moving and grooving.
Captain Kiko there on the front of his console.
Guiding and directing him to a good tournament this week.
I hope Kiko put some sunscreen on.
I
mean,
know.
that
Kinda
baby could
just-
really get a bad burn.
Yeah.
Clay Boudreaux's back to the frog. He said, enough of this punching action. I'm going to live and die with the frog. Probably not a bad game plan. I mean, just one of those average size fish like he had the first 2 days, and he's right back in it.
I'd like it if I had a spot right there by the takeoff, but the past 2 days with me going back early, I've tried to find little spots there to stop at if I made it. I accidentally come in early, I had something to stop on. I never got bit one time up there by takeoff. And I talked to some guys during the tournament that had been fishing in there all day and had caught like one fish.
It sounds like Boudreaux's mic's gone out as well. It's hard to hear what he's saying, but I think he was saying that he has not had any luck fishing back in the Northeast Creek. He's not the only one. I mean, some of the guys in the top 10 have done well there, but a lot of guys in the field fished in that Northeast and did not make the cut, probably didn't even have enough to make a check out of there. A lot of guys fished in there because of the, known quantity of fish that are in there, but it doesn't always work out for you if you don't kind of get tuned into what you need to be fishing and how you need to be fishing. Like you said earlier when you talk about Gaston, a lot of people just blow through areas a little too quickly, especially on tidal water fisheries. Sometimes you just need to put the trolling motor down and then, make some adjustments, throw in a few different baits, get different looks at them until you figure out what works.
I remember at the Elite here when Aaron had to wait till noon, saying the tide's not right, the tide's not right. So he waited in that area. Let's set it down.
Tompkins.
Snakehead.
Another fish.
Oh, snakehead.
Oh.
We get a good look at this thing. Look at that. Oh, that's
Pretty
a quality
big.
snakehead too.
Bite your hand off if
They
you
will
got a chance.
they will tear your chatterbait all to pieces.
Wow.
Those things are very pretty. And most anglers don't know how to hold them.
Because I got to kill it.
He didn't know what to do with the thing. He wants his bait back. He's like, what in the world is going on?
He's like, hey man, look away.
He's back. He's
one
back
thing we
in this
noticed
chute.
about that One thing we noticed about that is he went to the area where he had caught that last 4-pounder
right.
down that one deal, giving a little rotation, checking it every 15, 20 minutes, new tide, a little bit different water maybe.
That's right. This fish move in and out. And sure enough, a fish moved in, but it was the wrong species. It was a big snakehead. Those things are pretty wild. A lot of guys in that, you know, on the Potomac especially, because the Potomac is one of the first fisheries up there that got the snakeheads. Now all the fisheries up in that region are having the snakeheads, but they go out there and they gig them at night, and they shoot them with a bow. I mean, the kayak anglers, they put a hurt on them, but they definitely have gotten established up in the fishery. Doesn't seem to have really affected the bass too much. I know a lot of people initially thought that it was making a huge difference on the bass population as it's kind of established. You know, they've gotten established and been there for a few years. The bass population doesn't seem to be overly damaged because of them. They can definitely coexist, but it's kind of an interesting.
They are very aggressive, and they definitely want to dominate their area.
Yeah. And they spawn multiple times a year, so they can proliferate very quickly. Boudry's still in that area in the Susquehanna. You can see some of those grass clumps behind him, but he's gonna stay focused on the matted stuff up towards the bank. I think the tide's still plenty enough high.
Chris Boudry, it only takes one. The right bite can get him in the lead. You look at that leaderboard right there. You see their total weight for 3-day tournament there. JT Tompkins, 40 pounds and an ounce. Pete Glusik, 3 pounds behind at 37 pounds. Chris Boudry, only 2 fish though. That is the key. 3 more to a limit. He's only 3 pounds and 3 ounces behind. We will keep an eye on that as he's 1 bite from being able to go for the victory.
The St. Croix Bassmaster Northern Open at Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing, is sponsored by Ranger Boats, Yamaha, Toyota, Berkeley, and by Progressive.
About 45 minutes left of fishing time. We have about 15 minutes left in our broadcast today. The St. Croix Bassmaster Open at the Upper Chesapeake Bay, presented by Mossy Oak Fishing. Cecil County, Maryland, man, I will say, tough time of year to be here at the Upper Chesapeake. They've had some full moon instances where it's made the high tide much higher than normal. It's been a swollen, bloated fishery when it comes to how much water is in this body of water. But man, it did not get rid of all the drama. We kept the drama for the final day, and we are seeing it play out right before our eyes. Guys who had rock-solid game plans struggling on Championship Saturday, and guys who were worried about what they were going to do today ended up prospering. So it is a day-by-day venture. And this young man, JT Tompkins, 20 years old, I'm not quite
45 minutes total.
He could be the youngest classic angler
30. And we're back with the chatterbait in our hand because that's what caught the big fish, and that's what we need right now is 1 big fish.
He won it when he was 20.
So we're going to keep throwing this thing around and see if we can't get 1 more in the boat before we check in. If we get about a 5-pounder, that'll be nice, but overall we've had a pretty good day.
Understatement of the day.
Pretty happy with how the days went.
It's been a great day for JT.
Just glad I came into this tournament pretty close in the points for the Northern Opens, and my goal here was to make sure if anyone slipped up, that I could slide in the elites, because I missed it last year by 1 spot, and well, kind of got that done. But these Bass Open guys are just so good. All of them that were ahead of me caught them pretty good, and pretty sure it was like you needed a 12th place finish or better just to make the elites this year, and that is ridiculous. Three basically top 10s in a row. That is some phenomenal, that's just phenomenal for an angler to do. Be consistent, especially when you got these rivers during this time of year, and then you got Oneida, just 3 polar opposites. One was a spawn tournament, one was a post-spawn smallmouth tournament, and then you got this one, which just is a brutally tough summer tournament. And for them anglers to stack up 3 top 10s in a row, that's very awesome. Kudos to those guys. They really deserve to be in the elites. But I feel like I did my job here, pretty happy with everything. But I just want to thank everybody again who's watching back at home. Try to catch one more for y'all guys before we tune off.
It's not going to be the last we see of JT Tompkins, I can promise you that. If things kind of stay the way that they are, we may be seeing him come March in Knoxville. But as he said, look, you know, we've got 45 minutes of fishing left. If the Dean, aka Pete Glusik, can put a big kicker fish in that live well, he had 2 of those kickers the first day, 1 of those kickers yesterday. He does not have really one of those kickers yet. He's got a couple better than average fish, but not one of those kickers. Boudry just needs to put a 3.5 pounder in the boat, and he would overtake Tompkins. So a lot of fishing left here in the last 45 minutes. Tide's starting to come out. I think that's what Glusik's waiting on. I think that's what Kyle Austin was wanting. He's got a couple. He's got to catch a couple big ones to make up that deficit, but not being shown. We've got some other anglers right there in the mix. Trevor McKinney, he's right there. He's another one. He's a couple 1 or 2 big bites away from scaring him. He's just on the outside of that fringe that still has a chance to pull it off. So a lot of fishing left. It's been a little odd lull in the action in the last few minutes.
Especially Pete. Pete was on a kind of a quick flurry there where he was. I'm wondering if he either fished through that area and now he's going out to the open water, fishing more offshore, and that's a kind of place he wants to live in. But for Pete, does he make, because it's so close to the ramp, does he make one more last pass through that, you know, the little northeast river there, the tunnel and the bridge, a couple laydowns, a couple close, you know, puts down the spinner rod, picks up the flipping stick again?
I think he's gonna go to. He is out there where he knows big fish live. It looks like he's getting ready to make a little move since he does not have one of his TH Marine G-Force handles on there with the unbreakable cable, which he'll probably put on after this tournament.
Yeah.
He's got to use his pliers to pull his trolling motor up. But man, that's what veterans do. You know, we just adapt and go after it. But here's JT.
And I'll say JT's not out of it in the overall race for the Elite Series. He might be in 18th place in points, 751 points right now. You got to have around 950 with 3 more events to go.
Ronnie,
but it's 3 more events in the fall. And if any of these are indications, we can have great Bassmaster live shows. We can have great tournament weights overall. But it's do or die in terms of limits. The chance of JT being able to have a couple good events where needing people to struggle, that's a lot of people in between him and his goal. But if he fishes like this the rest of the fall, and he'll fish free, he'll have a classic berth if he wins today, we could see some magic happen for him. But him and Trevor McKinney in the top 20 in the points overall. We have Kyle Patrick in 4th for the overall. David Gaston, 7th overall. We still have some of these guys who have a good Central Open starting event at Ross Barnett. They still have 2 more, and Trevor McKinney and David Gaston both had top 10s, have a shot to qualify there. So we're possibly seeing 3 or 4 guys today that we will see next year on the Bassmaster Elite Series.
Definitely.
And Tompkins would not be the youngest classic competitor ever. You know, Stanley Mitchell won. He was 21. Virgil Ward's grandson, Greg Ward, was 18.
Really?
When he fished a classic way back in like 76, I believe.
Trevor McKinney.
Putting him one in the boat, but I'm not sure that's going to help him. He's already got about 11 pounds or so in the live well. So he just tosses that one back.
I'm not going to try it.
And if I'm not mistaken, that looks like strikingly similar to where JT caught one earlier. But he's fishing it differently. He is soaking a soft plastic in there.
Kyle Patrick's going through.
Kyle Patrick is going on up.
And this is what happens for a lot of people who do make that long 40, 50, 60-mile run, they normally come back. If it's been rough windy-wise, they're going to come back a little earlier than normal. They got to find a place to stay. So every single one of these anglers has given Northeast a shot. So they're going to go and explore some of these areas the last hour, and you start to lose, if you've stayed in Northeast, start to lose water because you're having to share it with everyone who has came back towards the ramp.
That's right. It looks like Kyle is going the opposite ways, going out of that backwater, I believe. Back to McKinney. Probably the first time he's done this all day. He just happens to be on Bass Live while he does it. But obviously he's a very, very good angler. I've been watching him. His mechanics are flawless. Sometimes when you try to put that bait right in the back corner of that little crevice, then sometimes it'll get hung right there. It looks like there's a seawall, and across the pilings, between the seawall and the pilings is that board that runs horizontally, and that's like a magnet for hanging up your baits. So if you pitch it over top of that, then you'll be doing what he just did, and that's just poking it off from the backside. Tompkins is back. It's in the Northeast. I'm pretty sure I caught a pretty nice one there in practice for our last elite there that was canceled in our practice. I had caught a really nice fish right out in front of those culverts there. I mean, you name it, any of those areas around the Northeast can produce fish. Wouldn't be surprised to see Tompkins catch something right here. We got Pipkins down in the bottom left. He's just going to live out there on that grass flat, fishing those holes with a drop shot. Made some late day magic yesterday with a big one. Now he's just soaking it. I think he's kind of falling behind. He knows he's behind. I mean, he was 6 pounds behind. The whole field was 6 pounds behind to start with, but now he's just going to kind of see what he can scour up. And, you know, not only, I mean, outside of the wind, I mean, there's a substantial price difference on what you make from 10th to 8th to 6th to 4th to 2nd.
Fund the rest of your season.
Yeah. So you know, you're gonna fight for every dollar you can as a pro angler. That's kind of what we do.
Yeah, tonight it broke down 2,000 for first, 25 for second, 17 grand, then 14 grand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you allowed to missile D-bombs with that much money, John?
Right.
Does John still have to? Do you have to pay for those?
One way or the other.
You actually probably pay for them twice.
I pay for them, all right. You know, it's almost hard to believe that Boudry could go without a bite here for this long. But you got to remember, there's a lot of 25 zeros on the first day of this tournament on the pro side. 25. That's a lot.
15 anglers who didn't catch a fish in the whole event, weighing a fish
either
after
day.
2 days.
Yeah, and some of those we're not talking about inept anglers. You know,
No.
anglers that don't know. I mean, we're talking about some very, very seasoned, good anglers fishing productive water. Just don't end up landing that keeper, a keeper, much less 5 keepers.
Oh, never mind. That's I can't remember his name.
That guy.
I thought that was Cody Bertrand. Same exact boat almost.
JT Tompkins, our leader, 17 pounds 9 ounces today, jumping from more than 11 pounds back of the lead, 9th place. I think he's our 9th bag over 15 pounds this week.
I only got a little bit longer and just got done with my 2 pockets that I've put a couple key fish in the boat. So I think I'm gonna run a little bit more riprap wall. Then I'm probably gonna get right next to the ramp and just fish around there. There's been so many release fish. You can catch a bass anywhere around there. So just want to put myself in a high percentage situation for the last little bit and see how this thing shakes out. But as long as I put myself in high percentage situations as long as I can throughout the day, that's all I can do on my part. So try to do the best I can on doing that for the next 45 minutes and try to put one more big one in the boat and try to just put a bow on the day. But we're gonna keep swinging until the very last second. And just try a little bit of different things. Might go flipping some of these walls that I've been chatterbaiting and see if I can pick up an extra bite that may be a little bit too finicky to bite the chatterbait. So but yeah, that's kind of the plan for the rest of the day. We'll see how it goes. And try to get weigh-in started.
Tompkins giving us a little synopsis of what he's going to do to finish out the day. He has made all the right moves all day today so far. Basically what Chris Boudreau has done the first 2 days, that's what JT Tompkins has done today. Will it be enough? We're not sure. Still some fishing left. I mean, Boudreau's one good fish away from overtaking them. Still some good fishing left. A lot of fish left in this area where Boudreau is, no doubt. So can he get one to bite and put it in the boat? That's the question.
30 more minutes for these anglers until they check in for the final weigh-in. You'll be able to watch that 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bassmaster.com. You can see the full weigh-in for the top 10 anglers. We will crown a champion, the final champion of the northern divisions of these opens. Man, it's been an interesting day here at the Upper Chesapeake Bay. JT Tompkins, like you said, John Cruz, what a fantastic performance for him today. Fantastic event overall for these anglers who have toughed it out and separated themselves from the rest. It's been an interesting day for sure. Trevor McKinney, JT Tompkins, Pete Glusik, Chris Boudreau, Chad Pipkins, all of these guys put on a show today. Kyle Austin with a couple good ones as well. It's been an eventful day of Bassmaster Live. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Been a lot of fun action, and I'm just telling you right now, it makes me want to go fishing tomorrow.
That's one we're looking for today right there.
Kyle Austin, we mentioned it. JT Tompkins, a lot of these anglers moving up the leaderboard today. It has been hit or miss, do or die on the Upper Chesapeake. And boy, did JT Tompkins get it done today. We will see if he can hold on. 30 minutes left.
Will the Dean pull it out?
Yeah, we have 3 or 4 anglers within just 3 pounds of the lead. 30 minutes left of fishing. Like we mentioned, you can watch it on Bassmaster.com for the weigh-in. John Cruz, appreciate you joining us on set with Such and myself.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thanks, Such. I know we'll be watching the weigh-in here on Bassmaster.com here shortly, as soon as we wrap up.
We appreciate the top 10. We appreciate everyone fishing the Northern Opens and tuned in today. We will see you in the next Open at Lake Hartwell, October 8th.